Good morning, Grand Rising. How you guys doing? Welcome to Deconstructing Christianity. I am your host, Coach Renz, and today we are looking forward to having a conversation about the multiple contradictions within the birth story of Jesus. It's one of my favorite subjects concerning this, as it is one of the things that helped me to deconstruct from Christianity, is the fact that the birth story is incredibly flawed. Incredibly flawed. Okay. Camera here, work. All right. Feel better now. Feel better about life. All right, I know it started a little bit late. I was trying to let my neighbor finish making all that noise outside, but it seems that they're going to continue. So we're just going to get started. Just have to close the windows for right now. Anyway, we are here. I want to remind people that we are meeting in San Antonio October 31st through November 2nd. October 31st through November 2nd. If you were to go onto the YouTube version of this channel, which is at Coach Renz 33, at Coach Renz 33. In the description of this video, you will see a link to the hotel that we have chosen. You have free breakfast as well as a free supper there. I will be posting the agenda later on today, but I will talk about the agenda real quick now and talk about the agenda again later on in this video. So the agenda for the media meet and greet. This is the agenda for the meet and greet. Let me make it bigger. So we're going to meet October 31st. We're going to have a meet and greet at Devil's River Distillery at 8 p.m. That is in the downtown San Antonio area. Then we are going to have Saturday, we're going to have a biz and money talk at poolside at the Drury Plaza downtown at 10 a.m. after breakfast. Then we're going to go over to the Japanese Tea Garden at 2 p.m. and have a deconstruction Q&A at the Japanese Tea Garden at 2 p.m. And then later that evening at 8 p.m., we're going to have a Developing the Community of Deconstructing poolside once again at 8 p.m. And then Sunday, we're going to have Sunday, November 2nd, a sound bowl meditation poolside at 7 a.m. If you are not staying in that particular hotel because you are local, then I need you to let me know so that we can make sure you get upstairs to the poolside for each different event that you desire to participate in. Now let's get back to the subject matter, and we'll go over that again later on. It's interesting. So we got Brian Holbrook over here on YouTube already. You are lying. You are the diva. I'm the diva. I didn't know I was the diva. Of course, this is a call-in show. You have to be over 21 in order to come into this and come in to the broadcast. If you're coming to just to proselytize, then I will kick you off. If you are disrespectful, I will kick you off. If you are long-winded and do not hold on to the conversation, I will kick you off. So, and if you are rude, you damn sure gonna get kicked off. So we actually have someone over on TikTok who wants to come in.
Yo.
How you doing? So how old are you? Are you over 21?
Yes, sir.
Good.
I'm exactly 21.
Okay. And are you a believer?
I'm halfway. I grew up Christian. Mm-hmm. I grew up believing in Jesus.
Okay.
But yeah, bro, I feel like some shit threw me off track.
Okay.
So I stopped believing in Jesus and stuff. Then I became not fully became it. I started talking to some like brothers of this fraternity called Freemason. I don't know if you ever heard of it. Some pretty cool guys, bro. Mm-hmm. Specifically the ones I speak to, their belief system doesn't really fall around Jesus, and like they actually give some good explanations on why not. But yeah, bro, I grew up Christian. I'm in the middle because I got people over here showing me this, but then I got this over here what I grew up on and shit. Like they were telling me they were just basically giving me esoterics, if you know what that is.
Yeah, I know what that is. So okay, I understand. So you're in the process. You're in flux right now, in between being a Christian and not being a Christian because of information that you've received. What do you know about the birth of Jesus? Do you know of any contradictions within the birth of Jesus story?
Any contradictions? The birth. I don't really see no contradictions. I heard like he wasn't
Hold on for 1 second. Hold on for 1 second. Christopher, no, all the shows will not be just straight debates. Most of the shows are going to be 20 to 30-minute lecture, like I normally would do, and then open the doors up. The only reason why we started out today was supposed to be that way, but this gentleman popped up real quick, so I figured I'd handle that and let people get on. But after this, I'm going to get into more of a lecture. Just to clarify, Christopher is a long time follower, so I'll give him the respect of answering his question real quick. But go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, I don't really see like any contradictions, except for like the fact that they say Jesus, excuse me, they say Jesus, God made Jesus, but if I'm not mistaken, Jesus' mother and then his physical father, who was here on earth, they made him. I don't know. I guess you could say that's a contradiction.
Okay, so
I really don't see any like heavy ones though.
Okay, good. So you haven't really seen it. So, so the two places that you'll see the birth story of Jesus is in your Matthew version and your Luke version. So give me a few minutes here, and I'm going to go through both stories and demonstrate how there are multiple contradictions within the birth story of Jesus. Okay, and how the stories are pulled from other religions. Okay.
All right, but
And then I want you to stay on because I want to then hear your thought process on everything I'm about to say. All right. All right. So when we evaluate the birth story of Jesus, although many Christians try to explain it away, the story of Jesus is the birth story of Jesus is filled with many contradictions. And because of those contradictions, if the birth of Jesus cannot be correct, then the whole idea of Jesus falls apart, much the same as if Genesis is filled with contradictions and is false, then the entirety of the Old Testament falls apart because it stands on Genesis, and the Christian religion stands on, although they claim that it stands on the resurrection of Jesus, it truly must first stand on the birth of Jesus. So therefore, if the birth of Jesus is problematic and he is not born, then of course he cannot die and then be resurrected. Right. So when we look at this birth story of Jesus, oftentimes people start to first look at the fact that Mary was born. Mary was not born, but Mary was the vessel, the young betrothed child bride to Joseph, who then was sexed up by the Holy Spirit, by this God. Now, that is a common trope that you will find in multiple religions that precede Christianity, whether we are talking about the story of how Zeus came in and impregnated multiple women in order to provide children, the most notable being Hercules, to whom Hercules had various stories, certain aspects of the Hercules story fit into the Jesus motif, as well as being the son of God who was raised up into the heavens, he didn't have 12 disciples, but he had 12 trials that he had to go through to prove himself. So, but just the aspect of him being born from a God to a young woman and then rising up, dying and rising up into the heavens is a similarity to the Jesus story, which would have been a common motif to the people of that day. But to get into more detail about the contradictions within the birth story is when we start to look at the actual story of the birth. According to the Matthew version of the story, Jesus was born into Bethlehem. Now, this had to be done because Matthew was writing to a Jewish audience, and he wanted to tie Jesus into the Old Testament prophecies, whether it fit or not. So even though Joseph and Mary are from Nazareth, he had them travel to Bethlehem in order to have the baby. Once they get to Bethlehem and they have the baby, Matthew then says that this is done under the reign of Herod the Great. Now, keep in mind, Herod the Great died between either 6 BCE or 4 BCE. I'm going to remind you of that in a little bit, but he died between 6 BCE and 7 BCE. So him being born under that time frame means that let me get to the Luke part. When I get to the Luke part, I'll remind you of that. But Him being born, he had been born between 6 and 4 BCE, no later than those 2 days. Because according to the Matthew version, Herod wanted to kill the baby Jesus. So this is why he is being born at that time frame, to fulfill a prophecy of becoming the new king of Jerusalem. King of the Israelites. Then within that story, there is the star appearing, the star appearing in the east that was followed by 3 magi. This star had to have been moving and then hovered above the house in Bethlehem, but the star was first followed to the city of Jerusalem. Now, people can debate whether or not the magi were in the east or they are just from the east, and saying they could have been from anywhere. They could have been leaving from anywhere, traveling from anywhere. They could have been traveling from Egypt. But the problem with traveling from Egypt and following a star in the east is that you cannot go directly east of Egypt. You cannot directly go east of Sinai. You cannot go directly east of anywhere except in Judea and the Mediterranean in order to get to Jerusalem by following a star in the east if you are traveling from the west. But it is most likely that these magi were coming from Iran, which is east of Jerusalem. It is impossible to follow a star in the east. If you are in Iran, you would then be traveling west.
Exactly.
So that makes absolutely no sense. Then you're making a lot of noise. Then from Jerusalem, they traveled to Bethlehem. In order to travel from Jerusalem to Bethlehem and follow a star in the east, you have to go south, slightly east, but southeast, but more south than east, right? And so that's problematic in itself. Now, and then its story says that the star hovered above the house that he was supposedly being born in, or that he had already been born in. It is impossible with the science that we know of today for a star to hover above a house. That cannot happen. Stars cannot hover above houses. A star cannot be in our vicinity. Maybe they would. This is where the ancient aliens say that it was a helicopter, maybe, or some type of spaceship. But as far as it being a star that hovered above a single house, that we know is a scientific impossibility. So they come, they pay their tribute, and they're supposed to go back to tell Herod, but instead they leave and they go back to wherever they go. Herod then decides that he wants to kill all the babies in the region of Bethlehem who are 3 years old and younger. This infanticide is not recorded in anywhere other than the Bible, and there is absolutely zero proof of a general infanticide happening in that region. So archaeologically and literarily, it did not happen. But here's where we get to one of the bigger conflicts in the Matthew story. Matthew then tells Joseph to grab up the baby Jesus as an infant, grab up your wife Mary, and go down to Egypt and remain in Egypt until Herod dies. So Jesus, again, would have had to have been born prior to 6 BCE or prior to 4 BCE in order for them to leave while Herod is alive, stay down in Egypt until Herod dies, and then return either in around 5 BCE or 3 BCE once Herod has died. Now, that all sounds nice, and then Jesus starts his ministry. That's all sound, and where there's lost years of Jesus, and then he starts his ministry. If you only read the Matthew version, there is a clear chronological line of where they go, where they went, and so on and so on. Now, when we read the Luke version of the birth of Jesus, Joseph and Mary have to leave Nazareth and go to Bethlehem, to Joseph's ancestral home in Bethlehem, in order for the Jesus character to be born. And they had to go there because the Roman emperor had decided to have a census be taken of Judea. Now, there is not one census that has ever been taken in Judea or in the Roman Empire that required anyone to go to their ancestral home. This would wreck the economy of Rome if everybody had to travel to their ancestral home. That would be like every time there's a census, I got to go to Atlanta and wait for the census person to come by the house in order to eat. Imagine if Atlanta would also be decimated economically, because half of my city is filled with people from New York and Chicago and everywhere else. So a census like that has never been done in the Roman history of doing census. The second part, this census was done in 6 CE by Quirinius. And Luke spells out that it was done by Quirinius, and we know that that census was done in 6 CE. When we look at, so here's the problem. Herod had died by 6 BCE or 4 BCE. Jesus was born in Matthew according to the census, according to being under the reign of Herod the Great. But if Luke is saying that he was born under the census that conducted by Quirinius, then he would have been born in 6 CE. That provides at minimum a 10-year gap in when Jesus would have been born. So either he was born in 6 CE or he was born in the BCE era. He cannot be born in both time frames. That is an impossibility. Right? Now, after he was born, it gets even deeper. So after he was born, according to Luke, the 8 days of time had gone by, and Mary and Joseph and Jesus traveled to Jerusalem. Now, it would be contradictory if if Herod was trying to kill them. Why would they? It would make sense. They don't say contradictory. It would make sense for them to travel to the very place where Herod wanted to kill them if he was still alive. But since he was not still alive and the time frame don't work, they travel to Jerusalem. They perform their rituals under the Mosaic laws of circumcising Jesus, sacrificing 2 pigeons or 2 turtle doves so that Mary can be considered clean. And then Luke says they returned back to Galilee, back to Nazareth. And then for the next 12 years, he says that they returned back to Jerusalem to participate in the Passover, as it was their custom to do so, as practicing the religion of Judea. But of course, during that time frame, Matthew was saying that they would have been in Egypt. It's a possibility for them being in both places. So now, just with that information right there, we see that it is impossible for the Jesus character, the story is made up. Plus, who was there to record all this? If this is supposed to be the eyewitness account, there is no eyewitness that's recorded. The 3 shepherd boys in Luke didn't write anything down. The Magi didn't write anything down. Herod, Joseph, Herod, Joseph, Mary. No one wrote any of these things down. The baby infant Jesus could not have possibly written any of this information down either. So those are conflicts that cannot be resolved, other than the fact that the baby Jesus story is just a made-up story. And if the baby Jesus story is a made-up story, then he is not the so-called God or Son of God. That he was just a man who was preaching, had some charisma possibly, and then his story gets inflated. Oh yes, and I forgot. Thank you, Paul. The other part of the contradiction, that is a contradiction in the story, is that shepherds don't tend their flocks in the wintertime outside in Israel. And even I myself, being in Israel, one of the time frames I was there was in February, and it was cold as hell. There was no sheep or cattle. I went to the countryside. There was no sheep or cattle out in the hillside being tended to. So this is why many scholars or people think that the Jesus character was born more in April in order for the Luke story to fit. But at the end of the day, what you cannot reconcile is the different time frames that they are saying that he was born. Why the census could never have required anybody to travel to their ancestral homeland, and where they went right after the birth. Those things cannot be reconciled. So what do you think?
Based off of what you just said, it sounds like Jesus isn't who they tell us Jesus is today.
I would agree. So
who is he?
A literary character, a person that possibly based off somebody who was a charismatic preacher in the early first century, because every Passover there were always people claiming to be the new Jewish Messiah. But the biblical version of Jesus is a made-up character, because this is how made-up character stories evolve. This is how their stories become inflated and they become legendized. And this created a new version of Judaism called Christianity that spread in the Roman Empire in order to create a pacifistic version of Judaism, because of all the Jewish revolts that were occurring throughout the Roman Empire, disrupting the Roman Empire. So Jesus, the Jesus of the Bible, never existed.
I don't know, bro, because like in the Ethiopian Bible, like if I'm not mistaken, that's one of the most oldest Bibles. It shows like how everybody was whatchamacallit, like the Ethiopian Bible, it talks about Jesus. It just says that it just depicts Jesus as being melanated.
What does that have to do? Okay, first, what era is the Ethiopian Bible that you're speaking of?
Ancient times, bro.
Huh?
That's like ancient times.
Actually, no, not so much. The most complete version of the Ethiopian Bible dates back to about the 15th, 16th century. All right. So you got the 1400s through the 1600s. That's not ancient. All right. Now,
bro, there's Ethiopian Bibles that predate the 16th and 7th, the 14th, 15th to 16th century.
No, there's not.
17th. There
is. I will. The Ethiopian Bible, and this. This is something that a lot of Black people are being caught up with, right? So what you know what, you might have, I could be wrong on one aspect of it, but I could have swore I was not wrong about this. I think I asked the question wrong. So oh no, okay. You know what? You are right about this one aspect of it. So I will correct myself on that one. What was that? What is 15th, 16th century? There is something that's 15th century, 16th century. I'm gonna have to look that up. So I've confused them. You are the earliest of the two is the Roman Gospels, which contains the four Gospels, all written in Ge'ez language, and the oldest surviving complete illustration of Christian manuscript. The earliest of the two is dated between 390 and 570 AD. So you are right about that. Okay. So Ethiopian Bible being written 390 to 570, that's the oldest one. Now this still doesn't validate that the Jesus story is true, because Ethiopia never converted into Christianity until 330 CE, and it was converted by force through King Azana being converted by Frumentius, who was a bishop from the Coptic Church in Alexandria. He converted over to Christianity because he wanted better relationships with Rome. So we have a person being converted over and a book being canonized in 330, which is done 300 years after the Jesus character supposedly existed. That's a long ass time during an era where if a king said this is your religion, you had no choice but to become that religion. You did not have a freedom of choice to do so. So that does not validate the Jesus character. And plus, Exana was being taught this by someone who had already become Christianized, who was already under Bishop Athanasius, who was an Orthodox Christian that would be one of the primary movers to creating what the Bible, the Roman canonized Bible is today. So, and this is happening after the Council of Nicaea. Now, prior to that, Christianity had many different, and even at that time frame, but it had many different variations. You had Gnostic teachings, you had the Marcions, the Valentinians, you had so many other variations of Christian teaching. You had people who believed that Jesus became the Son of God after he was baptized, where others believed that Jesus was a secondary created being. So there was no unified thought of Christianity before then. So this is still not a verification of Jesus because of the Ethiopian Bible.
So my thing would be like, bro, who they've been lying to us about who our God really is and stuff. Who would you be? Because like the Ethiopian Bible, Jesus translates to like Isis, like ancient Egyptian goddess, and then Isis also has a name in like Assyrian, and the Assyrians too. That's also a name in there, if I'm not mistaken. But they're like ancient. They're depicted as like black gods and goddesses. And is that who Jesus is?
Jesus is a literary character.
And what you mean by literary, bro?
He's made up. That he's a written character. He's Macbeth. You know, he's a made up character. He's Jerome. He's Jerome in Martin Lawrence show. He's a made up character, possibly based off somebody that Martin Lawrence knew, but is a made up character, right? Exaggerated. So the Jesus character, and here's the thing. I want you to and understand this. His color, whatever brown level of brown he was, doesn't really matter. Doesn't matter at all. Because when you have a literary character, you can make a literary character be whatever you want it to be. And then if we're thinking on a higher conscious plane, race don't exist. It only exists in this matter plane because we created it ourselves to exist. So I don't want to get stuck on that aspect of it. And hopefully you won't get stuck on that either. But the fact of the matter is, whether it's translated to Isis or Inanna or Enlil, Enki, it doesn't matter. All of them are made up. Every religious character, every god is made up. None of them can be proven. And the Jesus character most certainly cannot be proven. And the Jesus character is from the birth of his story, the Jesus character has complications. So now it sounds like you need a place to go. If you don't believe in Christianity, you need to believe in something, is what it sounds like, what your personality is, right? Would I be wrong to say that?
No, not necessarily, bro. It's just, I just want to believe in what's mostly true, bro. And I was raised on Christianity and stuff, but then I started hearing other stuff about it. So that kind of put me in a 50-50 boat. But how you feel about this? I was talking to one of my friends or brothers, you could call him. He's a Freemason. And his perspective on Jesus, he's pretty sold, by the way. He says that, if you don't know what that is, that's just like,
I know it
Mason's,
is.
Huh?
I know what it is.
Oh yeah, for sure. So he tells me that we're basically Jesus. He believes in like the whole Christ consciousness and oil and the oil raising through the spine, giving you the Jesus Christ consciousness. How you feel about that?
That is metaphysical Christianity. That is the fact that he want to separate himself from the history of Christianity and make Jesus more into a metaphysical being that is disconnected from all the earthly thought processes of the Bible and religion in itself, so that you don't have to deal with the slavery, the genocides, the murders, and all those things that are part of Christianity and the Abrahamic religions within themselves. So It's basically new age bullshit of how to convert an old religion into our modern day mindset of thinking. So the same way, you know who Jim Jones is?
Mm-hmm.
Is the same way Jim Jones stood on Christianity to create his variation. The same way Joseph Smith stood on Christianity to create the Mormons. Ellen G. White stood on Christianity to create the Seventh-day Adventists. It's just another just another division of the cult. And that's all it is. It sounds nice because it sounds like everything is internal, which everything is truly internal. The only thing you need is you, your consciousness, your thought process. You don't have, do you need a God to tell you to be a good person?
Mm-mm.
All right. Okay, so do you need a God to tell you to take care of the community?
Nope.
To take care of your family?
No.
Then you don't need a God. You just need yourself and the desire to be the best version of yourself. A God is not required. Too many people need a God in order for them to have morals. And that's a failing, right? And that's also a failing within Masonry. Is the requirement that you have to have a God as long as it's not a devil God.
Yep. Yes, sir.
And I'm not saying Masonry is a bad thing. You can learn a lot in Masonry. You can grow a lot in Masonry. But the idea that you have to have a God is problematic because you don't require a God to be a good person. And the idea of Masonry is making good men better. I can be a good man without ever believing in a God. And to answer your earlier question, I'm a 32nd degree Mason.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I'm not going to get into it, but you asked the question earlier. But
yeah,
I wanted a foundation before I got to that.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes, sir. So, bro, who like we don't need God and stuff, right?
No.
Do you believe in like for the most part, do you believe in our like how do you feel about the ancestors then? Like believing in our ancestors were warriors and slavery and stuff like that.
It's good to know about your ancestors so that you can, I mean, a lot of people, they need their ancestors to be able to identify themselves. But in truth, the only way and the only thing about ancestors, they are good for motivation. I don't think that my ancestors are coming and talking to me or anything like that. It might be possible if their consciousness was able to maintain itself after death, but I doubt it. But the ideals of my ancestors, the ones that I know about, then it's great. You know, I continue to thrive and do and work for myself for the majority of my life because that's what my grandfather eventually wound up doing. But that's what my father has done his whole life. That's what my father's brother has done his whole life. Some of the men who were born, my uncles on my mother's side, that's what some of them have done. Some of the women on my mother's side have done that. So they were inspirations in that. And then as I learned about other ancestors, I found out about other things that they did that I find them inspirational. But as far as going anything beyond what I can find out about my direct ancestors, the rest of it don't matter. Like if somebody was a king, if somebody was a warrior, or if somebody was that's great. But I don't know anything about that person because I don't know I don't know of that person's true existence. You know, unfortunately, because I have only tracked parts of my family back to the boat that brought them here.
So, yeah, most definitely.
But I don't know what the hell they was doing before they got on that boat. Evidently, some of them, I know they got their ass whooped, and that's how they got on that boat. So whether they got their ass whooped because they were fighting back or they just got captured, I don't know. But some of them, but you know, it is what it is. But at the end of the day, I decide who I am. I decide. You have full agency to decide who you are. And if you only decide who you are based on some mythical story, that's a sad statement about yourself. And if you only just, and even in your ancestors, if you decide that this is who you are simply based on your ancestors, that's also a sad story, right? Because you're still not truly being who you are. You're forcing yourself to be something that you may not desire to be. You know, let's say one of my ancestors was a billionaire, right? I may have the talent to become a billionaire, but I don't want to do the work that it requires, to lose the time of life that it requires to be a billionaire. Unless I get it by the lottery, it will not happen in my life, regardless of any ancestors. So, but we're gonna try to stay on subject. So,
Yeah, for sure.
this subject matter, with those contradictions, is it plausible that the Jesus story, if the root of the story is broken, is it plausible that the rest of the story is broken as well?
Yeah. I would say so. Very possible. Very possible.
I mean, because if the roots of a tree is rotten, will that tree is, and it still produces fruit, the fruit itself is rotten as well. You may be able to eat it. It may seem to taste good, but it's still rotten.
Yeah.
But I appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, most definitely, bro. I appreciate the knowledge.
All right. I'm gonna bring some other people in. Thank you very much.
Yep.
All right. Oh, I pressed the wrong button. Oh, let me put the invite out here on YouTube and Facebook. I forgot to do that part too. Sorry, y'all. And I'm glad that Facebook is working, because earlier it was saying that I was gonna have some problems with Facebook, but evidently Facebook fixed itself. Sphinx, New York.
Hey, what's going on, man?
How you doing? Are you over 25? I mean 21?
Absolutely.
All right. And are you a believer?
No, but I wanted to talk about Abba Garima and get like a little bit of knowledge on it. I follow you on Facebook for a long period of time.
This is the subject matter, man, for today.
Oh, all right. Well, oh man, my bad. I'll just step down there. I just wanted to talk about like Armenian Abba Garima, because I know you got extensive knowledge on it. I just wanted to get it up for myself, because I stream at nighttime too on the Deconstruction Live.
Oh, okay.
So,
actually, but I don't even know what you're talking about, to be honest.
All right, so Abba Garima was the Roman guy that went into Ethiopia and created the Ethiopian Bible.
Okay, I'm gonna have to research that.
Huh?
I'll research it.
But I'm sure you do know that like Armenia is the oldest Christian nation, right?
Yeah.
So that's basically what it is. So I wanted to get more knowledge on that so I could speak on it. So talking to you and other creators that do the deconstruction would be better. But the guy name's Abba Garima, because a lot of Christians, they'll say, oh, well, Christianity started in Ethiopia. It's like, actually it was written by a guy from the South Caucasus Mountains, but he wrote it in Ethiopia, but it's Ethiopian. So
you're saying that this dude Abba, who was from the Abyssinian church, and they converted over to Christianity and became a Christian nation in 301. That he came down and created their own canon. That he came down and put together the Ethiopian canon.
Right. He put together the Ethiopian Bible in Ethiopia. There was like a story, by the way. He said he couldn't sleep. He like God wouldn't let him sleep until he finished the Bible. But a lot of people get it misconstrued, because even though it was written in Ethiopia, it wasn't written by Ethiopian. That's why the Bible is not an Ethiopian language. It's just it was created, and he converted Ethiopians into the Christian faith but it was not like necessarily like written by Ethiopians.
Hold on. According to the history within Egypt and in Ethiopia, the Ethiopians were converted by Frumentius, who was
Frumentius.
Yeah, Frumentius was part of the uh, Coptic Church in Alexandria under Athanasius, under Bishop Athanasius, and gained permission from Athanasius to go back down to Ethiopia after his boat had crashed on Ethiopian soil. Well, of course, it wasn't called Ethiopia at the time, and
Right.
and it was Athanasius who became part of the court of King Azana and converted King Azana over. So I've never researched who actually wrote it, who put it together, but I just always made the assumption, and I know you shouldn't make assumptions, that that Frumentius was the one that put together the Ethiopian Bible.
No,
Which,
he was definitely, from my knowledge, right? From my knowledge, he was definitely the one that converted them.
yeah.
But the guy who went down there and wrote it was Abba Garima.
And
ABA.
Right, Father Garima. But what I was going to say though, there's a part of that critically thinking through it logically wouldn't make sense, because Frumentius could not have put together the Ethiopian Bible, because Frumentius was under Athanasius. Athanasius, since the Council of Nicaea in 325, had been putting out a list along with his Easter date of they're supposed to celebrate Easter, but he was putting out a list which eventually becomes the 66 books. So you would think Frumentius would not have put together a Bible outside of the list that Athanasius, his boss, was putting out. So that's an interesting. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, no, I get where you're going. Your God, and this is what I wanted, because I know you have other knowledge that I can piece together with the little bit of knowledge that I have, so I can have a better conversation on this thing. Because when I do the deconstruction at night, a lot of times they'll come in and be like, oh, Christianity started in Africa, and I'm like, yes and no. So
well, it's no and no. That's a no and no. It didn't start in Africa.
I only say yes because it was written in Ethiopia, but it was not written by Ethiopians. And then if it was written in Ethiopia, then nobody would have had to come and get them in there like Frumentius. Like so if it was created there, nobody has to come there and convert anybody. If it was already there created.
Well, here's the other part. It didn't come to Ethiopia until around 330 CE, right?
Right.
By that time frame, the Christian churches in Rome, in Turkey, all throughout the Levant, in Greece, all those in Ephesus, in Philippi, all those churches have been established long before 330. So Christianity was well in the Roman Empire, throughout the Roman Empire prior to that, prior to Ethiopia. Maxentius had Christians in his army. Constantine had Christians in his army, and there's evidence of Christians in his army up at the Hadrian's Wall, up in Great Britain. So Christianity was already as far as Great Britain before it had ever come into Ethiopia. Now, Egypt is part of Africa, and Christianity was in Egypt, but what Christianity was not in was sub-Saharan Africa until the 1400s, the late 1400s at that.
Right, and you're helping me out because I have a hard time wrapping my head around the BC and I normally like to do it how many thousands of years ago, and that makes it easier for me.
Mm-hmm.
My normal argument, because like people like you and a lot of other people that I watch, y'all knowledge of the Bible is super fascinating. My normal argument to Christians is normally like the timeline, right? So if you look at if Adam and Eve was alive in 2025, then according to the Bible and everything, Adam would be like 6,000 to 8,000 years, and then I'm like, you're gonna have to stand 10 toes down with thinking that this entire thing was created 6,000 to 8,000 years ago, when we could prove 50,000 years with carbon dating and over 300,000 years old as far as Homo sapiens is concerned. So clearly, you have a big portion of like knowledge missing. That's normally my approach because I understand the timeline. It cannot be what it is.
Right.
So,
and it can't be, and it wouldn't be 8,000 years. It'd just be 6,007.
Right, 6,000, right?
6,700, roughly about 6,700 years ago.
Right, because and then in the middle of that, like 3,000 or 3 to 4,000 years ago, you had the flood. So that's literally like almost like a start over again. So I'm like, you really think we had all of this within 3,000 years? Like, you got to be out of your mind. And that's normally my solid way to approach it, even though they'll gloss over it after they get the information and can't prove me wrong anyway. So
yeah, of course not. And you know, with just too much information out there in archaeology that of civilizations that were around longer than the 4,700 BCE time frame.
Right.
Also, ice core samplings demonstrate that the Earth has been around longer than that. So we know through multiple sources that the Earth is way older than what the Bible timeline would put it at. But
exactly.
Well, I got to get back to my question. Get back to the.
Nah, you listen. I totally appreciate it, man. I always wanted to talk to you because I had you on Facebook forever, so I've been wanting to like have conversations with you and stuff. So I'm glad I found you on TikTok, man. Have a nice stream, bro, and I support what you do.
I appreciate it. Let me ask you a question. Did you get off my Facebook? Like, remove yourself, unfollow it?
No, my Facebook got hacked, and I had to start a new one. And I think I have you on the new one, but like I had thousands of followers on the old one, and now the new one I only have like hundreds of followers now. Right. So I was following you like super religiously. You know what I'm saying? And then my Facebook got hacked. I'm still not able to get that old Facebook back.
Yeah. Now Facebook just doing some weird shit lately, and I was just trying to figure something out. That's why I asked that question.
Right, and then I recently found TikTok, and then well, I knew TikTok before, but I never was on TikTok, so I just got on here, and then I heard like a lot of the deconstruction people, and then I decided to take a whack at it also, because I'm also an artist. I'm a atheist rap artist, so like, so I do music. Like the talking points that y'all been using to talk, I've been using this in my music. Amen. And so it was beautiful to see people talk about it, because I'm always the odd person in the room or the one that people look crazy at when I'm performing, because people are not accustomed to people talking against Christianity, much less to hearing music and watching videos that go against what they were taught. So
no, that's good. And little cheat that I'm about to do in our meetup that we're having here in San Antonio, October 31st through November 2nd. As far as on our agenda, part of the agenda on what day is that part of the agenda? On that Saturday morning, on Saturday morning, we're going to have a biz and money talk. And one of the things is how to convert. I'm going to talk to the people who show up there about how they can convert their hobbies, their talents, their interests into ways that they can make money. And what is how to gain that audience. And because the number of people who are deconstructing from religion is growing every year, it's over 1 billion people right now who don't consider themselves part of any religion, and the overwhelming majority of those people are atheists and agnostic. Someone tapping into the music industry for those people is a great way to make some money, to build your money. Because you now have a specific audience that's looking for something for them.
Right. Well, I've been doing that for years. I just refuse to change. Like some artists will change their talking points just so they could get a record deal, but I never could do that because I can't rap about fake stuff. So I'm always talk about the government and talk about religion in my music. I got videos doing the same thing, and people would normally like me, but sometimes people don't listen. So by the time they like me already, and then they watch the video again, and then they listen, they're like, "You don't believe in God?" I'm like, "Did I stutter?" You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And then we'll have the arguments on Instagram or wherever they find about the God and stuff like that. So like to watch you on Facebook talk about it, I was like, wow, this guy, like where is this guy has been? Because I could have been chatting it up with people that, that knew things like this. And then when I came to TikTok, there's a plethora of deconstruction people. So I'm like, wow, I needed y'all years ago. You know what I'm saying?
But here's the thing. Wait, stop. Stop. Here's the thing, because we're gonna get off this and I gotta get back to the show. But this is still part of the shameless plug that I'm doing, as far as having the biz and money talk at the poolside at Drury Plaza, downtown San Antonio, 10 a.m. is the fact that this is where people are making a mistake. You say that you're trying to get a record deal. You don't need a record deal in today's world. In today's world, if you put out, and I'm being nice about it, a song a week, put out a song a week, and all you have to do is post it, then make videos, then make, a like an MTV style video, make a video about the songs, and that'll give you a reposting of the song, and continue to do that. You don't need a record deal. There's no money in selling records or streaming music. There's no money in that. The money is monetizing your channels and gaining sponsorship, and then in music, getting show dates. That's where the money is at.
Right. Well, show me how to do it. I do Sprinter. Like, I got a Sprinter. So in New York, I'm from New York, of course. So I do pop-up Sprinter shows. So I have speakers out my Sprinter and everything like that. And I'll do like pop-up Sprinter shows and stuff. And I try to get monetized on YouTube. But I wasn't able to be monetized on any platform, to be honest with you. So if you have that knowledge, I would like to pull up. You said it's like the 30th of October. Hopefully you got this link in your profile or something.
Go to this video either on my Facebook channel or the YouTube channel. It's easier at the YouTube channel at Coach Renz, RENZ 33, and there's a link in the description of the bio for the hotel. It's just to make your reservation. I'm not charging anything for this event, right? And then you can be there, and you'll be able to come to the whole biz and money talk Q&A. Everything is free. I'm not charging anything. You just got to reserve your room. I'm just asking people. RENZ 33. The numbers 3 and 3. 33.
I just found you up. I just subscribed. And okay. And I'm gonna try to do. Okay.
And all right. Look, and the link is in the description of this video. Okay.
All right. I'm gonna look for the video, and then I'm gonna try to see if I can pull up.
All right. I look forward to it.
Indeed, man. Take it easy, man. Thanks a lot.
I appreciate you. Yeah, that was a shameless plug. I don't care. I need to get y'all here. We're gonna have I finally put an agenda together. So, but I think the business and money talk is going to be a very important thing, because we need to grow. I want people to grow financially in this industry. Yeah, financially, not in this industry, in this community, because it won't help if you broke. Billy Douglas is called Deconstructing Christianity. It's easier to find the YouTube channel by searching at Coach Renz, RENZ 33. But the link to the hotel where you get free food, free breakfast, and free supper is also in the link of this video. It's in the description of this video on Facebook as well. It's just when people are looking for the first time, I tell them to go to YouTube, because it's a lot easier. All right, let's bring up this gentleman here. I am. You have to unmute your mic. The I am. I can't see what the rest of the name is. You're on, but your mic is muted. I'm gonna give you 3 seconds. The I am to unmute your mic. Okay. For some reason, they didn't unmute their mic, so we're just gonna have to kick them from it. So we're going to is there any physical taxes and debt? What about this? Spiritual rent? What? That's not what I'm talking about today. So we're going to keep to the subject matter. Oh my gosh. This is going to be a very brief encounter with Prime. It will be very brief. Prime.
Hey, what up, Coach?
How you doing, man?
I'm good. You know, I got to laugh. just one little pun.
So
You
what do
know,
you?
on the agenda, I coming, but you know, on the agenda it says the Devil's Distillery River is the meetup. Man,
Devil's
that's a Christian.
Yeah. I thought that well, one, I like Devil's River whiskey,
Yeah, I
but
know. I just found it funny as a Christian that the
yeah,
atheists having a meetup.
exactly. And that's the other part. I thought if any Christians do come and they are meeting up at Devil's River, I thought that it would be
it
very ironic and
will
iconic.
be.
Hmm.
Man, I found that funny. Anyhow, I'm here to hear the contradictions. So I'm all ears today. I want to hear these contradictions.
You didn't hear me just run through that whole thing? Okay. Nah.
Be, just for viewership and just for my knowledge. I've heard you said them before, but since this is a new day, new platform, give me my 10 minutes before you kick me out. So
All right, because I'm looking at the clock right now so I can have a gauge.
yeah, I know. They don't let me up too long.
No.
So what's the main contradiction then?
It's not so much about it being the main contradiction, just the fact that there are multiple, and the fact that if there is even one, that the story is flawed. But one of the contradictions that is the fact that according to Luke, Jesus is born during the census of Quirinius, which happens in 6 CE. But according to Matthew, Jesus was born during the time frame that Herod was king, which Herod died either in 6 BCE or 6 BCE or 4 BCE. So it's an impossibility for Jesus to have been born according to Luke and been born according to Matthew. One of them has to be wrong.
Okay. So which is the verse in Luke you're looking at?
What does it matter? But
yeah, it matters. I don't know what the reference. You just said Luke.
Verse 1 and 2. And it came to pass in those days that there was a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed. And this tax was first made when Cyrenius was governor of Syria, and all went to be taxed, everyone to his own home, Joseph and his wife from Galilee, out of the city of Nazareth, into Judea, into the city of David, which is called Bethlehem. Now, there has never been a Roman tax that required people to travel to their ancestral homeland. But this tax is said by Cyrenius to the governor of Syria into Judea. And that was according to records, that tax, that's,
I think one correction is I don't think the word is tax, right?
No, the word is tax.
No, the word is registration, I believe it is.
Okay, registration or tax, it doesn't, that's irrelevant.
That's most important. It's talking about.
What does that have to do with the fact that it is saying that it's done under Cyrenius, which is in 6 CE? Whatever the reason doesn't matter. The fact that it's being said under Cyrenius is what matters.
So where does it say here that let me just pull it up in is Luke chapter 1, you said? 2?
Chapter 2. He's talking about opening my window since my neighbor stopped making all that damn noise.
Yeah, I'll give you a sec, no problem.
But yeah, Luke chapter 2. Starting at the top.
Right.
I just read it, so why you need to go back to it? What's the point of asking me a question like that if you're just going to take time to go to it yourself?
Right, because you're saying that based on this text that Luke is contradicting him, he is contradicting Matthew. Okay, so where's the comparison of the registration in Matthew?
There is no registration in Matthew.
So then where's the contradiction?
Matthew is saying that Jesus was born during the time frame of the reign of Herod the Great. Herod died between 6 and 4 BCE.
That's more or less arguable. I would use closer to 1 BC, but I mean this big.
Even if it's 1 BCE, it doesn't matter. It's still not 6 CE.
Well, the information we can, use other verses to get a gauge of where it would be, right?
Such as
John chapter 2. There's a time frame that is given for the temple upgrade.
okay. What does that have to do with price of tea in China?
Right. So if you take the time frame from when the temple upgrade begins up until you estimate, let's just say by historical records, most people put it either the 18 BC or 19 BC for the upgrade of the temple, right? In John chapter 2, as I said, I don't have the reference in front of me. I can find it. But the time frame is given from when the upgrade to when the statement is being made. If you do the math backwards, actually you end up with about AD 27 or so, which would mean if Jesus is 30, it would be around about 2/3 BC. He would be alive. And also there are the solar eclipses that confirms also the time frame of Herod's death.
When did Herod die?
That's what I'm saying. The best calculation of it would be around 1 BC.
Okay, so Herod dies in 1 BC.
Right. So
When was the census done by Cyrenius?
Right. So censuses, in terms of the actual censuses, this is where the argument is. One argument, people say that there's no census, Roman census, and then they say, oh no, Cyrenius had a census. So which argument is it then?
Luke claims that it was.
No, wait. So here's the point, right? Because I listen.
No, here's the point. It don't matter what other people say. Luke says that a census was done by Cyrenius.
Right.
That census, according to Roman records, was done in 6 CE.
Who says it was done according to 6 CE? There were many censuses that happened.
The only census that
there are two arguments. One, the first one where you began with, and you said,
see, you're doing the bullshit again.
No, because you said there's no Roman. You said there was no Roman census, right? Did you not make that statement?
That is not what I said. I said that the only census that Cyrenius did in Judea.
You sure that's the only one?
Listen to the words. Mm-hmm. The only census that Cyrenius did in Judea was in 6 CE.
Where was Cyrenius? When did he become procurer of Judea?
He didn't conduct the census when the procurator of Judea. He conducted the census while he was governor of Syria. Okay,
and when did he become governor of Syria?
What does that matter?
Because the fact of the matter is, the argument that most people make there too. One is there's no Roman tax that went out. That's one argument. So that's one argument the atheists make. The second one is, it's incorrect because Luke says that it's according to Cyrenius, right? I'm saying, okay, let's get the time frame. Give me when Cyrenius actually, where he was in charge of us when it happened. That's what I want to establish. I know you're Googling, so go ahead.
But what is the point of establishing any of that information because Luke says that he did it, that Cyrenius, it was during the time frame that Cyrenius conducted the census in Judea. Is that what Luke says?
I'm not disputing what Luke says. I'm disputing if it is that there was a historical census by Cyrenius.
Are you saying that Cyrenius, Quirinius, because it's the same person?
The same person.
Are you saying that they didn't conduct the census?
No. I'm saying where, and where was he in charge of?
He was governor of Syria.
He's governor of Syria, but he is now, you're attributing that it was for Judea, although he was governor of Syria, two different locations.
Yeah.
Okay.
Listen. He came because the Roman government had gotten rid of Herod Archelaus as the governor of um, Judea. So he was coming down to assess what Judea should be taxed towards the Roman government, because Herod Archelaus was no longer the governor. And I think Archelaus is Herod's son. I don't know if it's son.
Yeah, there are two sons. Actually, there are two sons, and I think there was even a third.
Okay, but
that late
Herod is dead
mm-hmm.
at the time frame. Herod has been dead
mm-hmm.
for a minute by the time Quirinius comes down to conduct this census in 6 CE.
Right, but he's the governor of where?
He's governor of Syria, but that don't matter.
Okay, but Syria is to the north.
So,
okay,
what does that matter?
It matters because what people have been always trying to conflate is that if Luke is saying something wrong, my point has always been there have been other censuses before, but then some people will say, "Oh no, there never no censuses. There was never no census."
That
so
has nothing to do with the fact that Luke is stating
mm-hmm.
whether it's a census happened or not, whether he did other censuses and why he did the census and all this kind of stuff doesn't matter. What matters is Luke is claiming that Quirinius came down to do this census that Augustus Caesar charged him with. Mm-hmm. It is recorded in the Roman records that this census happened in 6 CE, after the death of Herod, after the disposition of Herod Archelaus. So that's what Luke is saying. Matthew is saying that Jesus was born during the time frame of Herod the Great. There was no census done by Quirinius during the time frame of Herod the Great.
Right. So is it the taxing he talking about, or is it?
Don't matter.
It matters. You don't listen. You don't
understand. You are trying to. This is what you're trying to do. Here's the core.
Uh-huh.
Here's the core. Here's the core information right here. Here's the core.
Mm-hmm.
Right. You're trying to put all this bullshit around it.
No, you guys will make up bullshit all the time.
No, that's what you're doing. And you're trying to throw in a whole bunch of information that does not matter in order to form some line of justification. When the simple thing, Occam's razor. It is the simple straight line that Luke claims. Mm-hmm. Not validating that Luke is right, that Luke is historically accurate. That really don't matter, even though he is. But Luke is claiming that Jesus was born during the time frame of this census. Matthew is saying that he is born during the time frame of Herod the Great. Both are a claim.
So here's my question: were there other censuses before, and do you believe that there were? Yes or no?
Sure, there might have been.
Okay, good. I know, because that's why this want to dispel the first argument first. If it is, there were no censuses at all.
Get rid of the first argument when the fact of whether or not there were other censuses doesn't get rid of the fact that Luke states that there was a census.
Yeah, well, wait. I'm dealing with two arguments at the same time. From the atheists. The first one is there was never no censuses.
I never said that.
I didn't say you say. I'm saying
Rome has conducted plenty of censuses.
Okay, good. So here's so then the lies that the atheists will tell us to say, oh no, there was never any censuses.
Look, hey, stop.
That's one.
Stop. Mm-hmm. What other people say don't matter.
It matters.
This is what I'm saying. Speak to what I'm saying, not what other people say. I don't give a shit about what other people say on their broadcast.
No, because you saying contradictions, and
I am speaking solely of the contradiction of this was done under Quirinius in 6 CE.
Right. So where's the contradiction?
Matthew says that he was born under Herod, and there was no census by Quirinius and during the reign of Herod, done by Quirinius.
So what you're doing is saying that. So here's the thing. Quirinius has been in Asia Minor long before even 6 CE, right?
It,
Long before BC, even while Herod is king. So Quirinius is no stranger to history during the time of Christ. That's number one.
what does that have? That has nothing
Wait.
to do with nothing.
I'm coming. Quirinius is
Oh,
one who, from the Romans, has taken more than one census. We know that for sure. And I'm saying, let's be practical.
okay.
The American census that they take. Wait, let me make my point. I listen to you. Let me make my point.
Because your point is a fruitless venture.
No, it's not fruitless because you can't show the contradiction.
It makes no sense for you to sit up here and try to bring up a bunch of information that is irrelevant to
it is relevant because you're making the census on that Luke is speaking about, the one in 6 BC. I'm saying, where did Luke say it was in 6 BC? Sorry, 6 CE. Sorry, my bad. Did Luke say that? No, he didn't say that. So you're making the assertion that that's the census that Luke is talking about. That's where the lie is. And I'm saying, you prove to me that that's the census that Luke in his book is talking about. Come on, Google. I know Google your best friend.
It is, because if you know how to use it competently.
No, but okay. You try and tell me that 6, I think it's 6 CE, right?
So
where you're referencing.
Shut all the hells up. Quirinius never conducted any other censuses in Judea. Other than the one that
he was never in charge of Judea.
God, you don't have do you not?
Okay, what is who?
Where is? You don't understand how Roman civilization.
No,
works.
Don't try to split. In one time you want him to be it, and then in another time. Come on.
You don't have to be the governor of an area to conduct the census. Because Herod Archelaus had been disposed, that's why they sent the governor of Syria into Judea to do the census, to do the work. It wasn't that he got to be the governor of Judea to do so. Roman civilization didn't work that way.
Show me where you said. Show me the Roman records for that. There no Roman records for you. What you just said. None.
So you just gonna interrupt me when I was getting ready to talk, right?
You interrupt me many times.
I can, because it's my show. I can interrupt you as many times.
All right, so no problem. Come on, quit crying.
Complain about it like a little girl. The fact of the matter.
Show me the proof. Show me the contradiction.
Shut all the hells up.
Come on.
Damn. One, it is recorded in the writings of Josephus while he was the scribe with the Vespasian in the house of Vespasian, that he recorded the census that was done by Quirinius was in 6 CE.
Mm-hmm.
So
were
Josephus for that.
Mm-hmm. Were there any other censuses?
So now we got to have some more. There were no.
No, I've asked you. Listen, I've asked you the same question all the time. Were there other censuses?
There were no other censuses recorded.
Come on, you're reading AI now. Come on, you know your atheists always like to use the AI robot all the time.
If you interrupt me one more goddamn time.
No, you always use the AI robot. Come on.
And what does that matter? See, this is a whole nother conversation that
you can create your own narrative reading from it. Come on,
This is a whole nother conversation I want to have about these people. Whether or not something is, if you don't know how to use AI, if you don't know how to use Google in today's world, you are going to find yourself behind the 8 ball. People like to say, oh, you're using AI, oh, you're using ChatGPT. If you know how to use these tools, then you should be able to. That's like complaining because somebody knows how to go to the library. Oh, you went to the library and you read a book. That's asinine to take a system, to ignore a system that allows for you to gather information at a faster rate of speed than when I was a kid and had to go to the library to accumulate my information, right? That's dumb, right? Completely dumb. Now,
were there other censuses before BC 1?
Did Quirinius, the correct question would be, did Quirinius conduct any other censuses in Judea prior to.
You said he didn't have to be from Judea.
And he didn't. And he did not. Quirinius did not conduct.
Say that. Because I want you to prove that it's
because
the one.
There are zero records. There are zero.
You're presupposing. Does the text say that it's
zero
CE1?
records? There are zero records of Quirinius conducting any census in Judea prior to the census he conducted in 6 CE.
Was Quirinius in Judea? That's now. Was he in Syria before, prior to?
So you can choose. I ain't got time for that. You can choose whether or not to believe that or not, accept that or not. Basically, what he is doing is only accepting what's going to fit into his narrative. And at that point, we are now just arguing belief. And there is no point in going in circles to argue belief. If you don't want to accept the information that we have, and the information that we have is that this census was conducted in 6 CE. Now, if you want to jump around and be like, no, there could have been one. There could have been one that was conducted before then. There could have been, in order to justify your statement about Luke, justify the statement that Luke made, then you go ahead and make up some shit in order to do something. And that's fine if you want to just make believe in order for you to believe in your religion. But for those of us who actually study things, those of us who just allows for the information to lead us where it leads, then that's where we're going to go. Now, if we find out, let's say that somebody does a dig in Rome or in Milan or somewhere, and we find some other information, they dig in Syria or Judea, and we find out that, oh shit, Quirinius did conduct a census in Judea in or around the time frame of 6 BCE or 4 BCE or whatever, then that would be new information. And that new information would then be accepted. But we don't have that information. What we do have is the fact that Josephus's writings state that that this census was conducted in 6 CE. And Josephus wrote this at the time frame when he was living in Rome in an apartment that was provided to him by Vespasian. So he was writing according to his access to Roman records. Now, beyond that, you can make up anything you want to make up, just like this Bible and this story is a made-up story. So running around in circles with someone like that is a waste of my time, and it is a waste of you guys' time, because as you saw, he would refuse to deal with the actual issue. It doesn't matter. It's what they are stating. This is what they are stating. Matthew says that Herod was alive when Jesus was born. Luke is stating that Herod is pretty much stating that Herod is dead. And we know the events to why Quirinius went down to Judea. And that was because Herod Archelaus had been disposed, and Quirinius was going down there to, hey, let's figure out what the tax is going to be. Now, Luke is already telling a lie in his story anyhow, because there has never been a Roman census that forced people to go back to their homeland, right? That in itself would be disastrous to the Roman economy. Disastrous. So that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. And I'm not going in a circle with somebody over trying to create confusion by throwing in a bunch of information that don't matter. What up, Lo?
Hey, what's up, Coach Rance?
How you doing?
I'm all right.
I know you grown, so I ain't got to ask that question.
I think what the guy was trying to say was that the argument that Christian apologists are saying is that there was a time where Quirinius, that not necessarily that Quirinius was the one that did the census. The census was given by Caesar, said to do the census, and Quirinius was ruling in Syria. They're saying that there was another census first, and that the census that's in 6 CE is the second census. That's what they're saying. So, I think that's where he was trying to go. He was trying to get you to see that there was another time where Quirinius was governor over Syria, but you know, I don't see that clearly. I know he was a military. He was doing a military campaign in Syria, but
yeah, like in that time frame, he was doing. I believe he was doing some type of military role in Syria at that time frame. But the thing about it, then that would mean that Luke made a mistake. That Luke is not the perfected word of this God, because he names Cyrenius or Quirinius as the person who came down and did the census. If Luke hadn't named him, then you could throw up all kind of stuff. But he named him. You there? Oh, his phone must have rang or something.
Hello?
Yeah, you was gone for a second there.
Okay, I guess I can't do that. I was trying to look at something else on my phone at the same time to read it. Well, what they're saying is that this is a different census. They're saying that the one in 60 is the second census that was done. The Quirinius did, not the first one. The first one. That's why the term first census. Even though when I read it, it seemed like it's saying when he was first. You know, around the time when he first was the governor of Syria, but they're saying this was the first census, and so they're trying to say that the actual census that Luke is talking about was during the time of Herod. And actually, when you read the book of Luke puts Jesus' birth in the time of Herod also, because when you go to the chapter earlier where it's talking about John the Baptist. It mentions Herod. So Herod is alive. So this is, you know, so Luke is speaking of a census that's before 60. So but people are saying, well, the only one that we can find outside of the Bible is the one that's 60.
So I appreciate the fact that you just demonstrated how Luke can't be correct, that Luke makes mistakes even within Luke. So we don't even have to find a contradiction outside of Luke about the birth of Jesus, because according to what you're saying and I just clicked it over there, and it's the first thing that popped up in my face was the fact that it says in verse 5 that there was in the days of Herod, the king of Judea, a certain priest named Zechariah. Now, it doesn't say Herod the Great, because remember, at the time frame of the census, it was Herod Archelaus. So this could have been in the days of Herod Archelaus. It doesn't necessarily have to mean the days of Herod the Great. So if you're going to say that Luke chapter 1 is saying Herod the Great, then it's also impossible for this census to be done during the time frame that Cyrenius was governor, because when Herod the Great was king, Cyrenius wasn't governor of Syria. So even within itself, that's
the difference. The difference is that they would say that he was ruling over Syria at the time. You know, even though he didn't have the official title of governor. That's how they would. That's the logic that would be used, because you know. So it's like Luke and Josephus not talking about the same census. That's what the the Christian argument is. They're not talking about the same census. So the census in Luke is referring to one that supposedly took place while Herod was the king, not while Herod was over Judea, but Quirinius was over Syria.
So they're just making up stuff, basically, what you're saying.
I ain't saying they're making it up.
No, that's just making it up.
I see some logic around it that.
How is that logical?
I think internally, it has to be talking about, because he talked about Herod. I think he's talking about Herod the Great. I don't think he's talking about Herod's son.
How would that be logical? But you don't know. There is absolutely nothing in that indicate which Herod it is. And if it's going to match up with chapter 2, it has to be Herod Archelaus. See, if you took the logical approach to it,
the presupposition that you presuppose that the census happens in 60 CE. yeah, if the census happened 60 years, yeah, it would have to be that Herod. But they're saying, but what's being said is that that's not this. We're not talking about the census of 6 CE. There's another census.
What census? Because there's
The first they're saying it was another census. The census that's mentioned there.
What census was done when? See, you can't say that Quirinius was governor of Syria when the census happened, and then try to claim an earlier census since he didn't become governor until 6 CE.
I agree with that. I don't see the evidence for that, but what they're using is that he was over the military campaigns in Syria at the time.
But Luke says he was governor of Syria. So you cannot then say, well, he might have did another census, but he wasn't governor. Then Luke would be lying. So it doesn't make there.
He might be mistaken. I think that's a better word to use.
No, lying.
No, he's not lying. He might be mistaken. There's a difference.
There is a difference, but he ain't making it.
I think Luke, when you look at, I mean, like I said, I'm deconstructing, but when I look at Luke's writings, I think he's writing what he thinks is true there.
Okay.
What he's actually researched out for himself.
So what's the evidence of another census that was done in Judea? And Cyrenius did it, but what's the reference to that?
I gotta look it up because I saw something that made some sense, and I can't totally recall it right now, to be honest with you. But they do have another argument. So when you listen to the argument, you gotta listen to it without the idea that the first census was in 6 CE. They're saying it's the first, because that's why the word first is used, that there were more than one census. Saying the first census. So the first census or the first taxing was not the 6 CE one, So Luke, I don't think Luke is contradicting himself. Luke might be contradicting what is known by historians, but he's not contradicting himself. That's the difference. I'm just saying. I mean, because if there is another, like I said, it's hypothetical. If there is another census, then, like, more likely, I think he's talking about Herod the Great, because normally when they talk about the Herods, when they say Herod, they normally just talk about Herod the Great. When they say Archelaus, they put the other name, behind it. So, that would put it in the same time frame as Matthew. But there are a lot of contradictions between Luke and Matthew. The biggest contradiction to me between Luke and Matthew that cannot be reconciled is the fact that in Luke, Mary and Joseph go to the temple after the 40 days. Yeah. And then they go from Jerusalem to Nazareth.
Yep.
But in Matthew, they go to Egypt, and then he coming back to Israel, but he don't go to Judea at all. He get warned by in a dream, and an angel, and he get told to go to Nazareth. So he gets to Nazareth from Egypt rather than get to Nazareth from Jerusalem. Those things cannot be true at the same time.
No, they cannot be true at the same time. That is another huge one. But before I go to that one, I just took a quick little stroll down memory lane, and everything that the apologists write about an earlier census and is all filled with might and possibly and could have been, but nothing is valid. And they're bringing in and say, oh, well, Augustus Caesar conducted multiple censuses. And Quirinius might have been governor. He might have had 2 terms of governor. And it's possible because he conducted multiple ones in Egypt. It's a whole bunch of mights and possibilities in order for people to try to make an argument. Mights and possibility do not make arguments, because they are not that. When they say might and possibly, what they're really saying is we don't actually have evidence. We got some little circumstantial stuff that is around the periphery, and we're going to use that to try to justify this new thought process that we're having, instead of just identifying the author. Luke said Quirinius was governor, and when this census happened, and the records that we know this census happened in 6 CE. So all that mights and possibilities is, I just really want to believe in this, so let me figure out a way for me to believe in it. Now, to your other subject matter, you are absolutely right. You cannot be in 2 places at the same time, right? It is a virtual impossibility for, in both instances, it was the baby Jesus, the infant Jesus, that either went to Jerusalem, then went to Galilee and Nazareth, or the baby Jesus, infant Jesus, went to Egypt. Can't be in two places at the same time. That one just don't work. And last time I had some guy tell me some chronologically it's possible because he could have not wrote that part down. That's another, I just want to believe.
Yeah. Some of it is just you have to force it because you had a presupposition that one that they're writing in concert or in congruent of each other, and that they're backing each other up, and they one is leaving out a certain thing, and, you know, and it's all infallible and all that. The reality is they're telling two different stories.
That's all it is. Two different stories. And if this guy is not supposed to be the author of confusion, he'll allow for a whole bunch of confusion to be created.
I got another good contradiction for you.
What's that?
But it's not on the birth of Jesus, so maybe I can share that with you later. I'll send it to you.
No, just go ahead and say it real quick. I'll give you 5 minutes, and then we'll talk about it for 5 minutes, and then I'm gonna grab the next person.
Book of Acts, I think it's chapter 7. I think it's 14 or something. But anyways, when Stephen was given his like little sermon before he got stoned, and he talks about when Joseph and them and Jacob left. Jacob died, and they left from Egypt. I mean, they were buried, and it says that they were buried in Shechem, the parcel of land that was bought by Abraham. But in Genesis, the parcel of land was bought by Jacob, and the author either Luke is conflating or Stephen was mistaken under the inspiration of the Holy Spirit, but he's conflating the stories because Abraham bought a piece of land from Ephraim, Hittite, and Maccalovite, and Mamre, which is a long distance from Shechem. So it's a almost obvious mistake, and it's an obvious mistake. I just saw that today. This is the first time I never even thought about it. But they're mixing up, and then in Numbers, I believe, they're mixing up where Joseph was buried with where Abraham was buried. And the plot of land was bought by Jacob. So it's wrong like two different things.
Yeah, I see where it says that in Acts chapter 7:16, their bodies were brought back to Shechem and placed in the tomb that Abraham had bought from the son of Hamor at Shechem for a certain sum of money. And then when a quick little search of who did Abraham buy land from, it says that Abraham bought specific land and fled to the caves of Machpelah from Ephraim the Hittite. Let me add on to that.
You got to see the gymnastics they do with that one.
Yeah, so I wanted to make sure that it was the land that he bought and he buried his wife, and then he was buried in. And yeah, that was in the region of Hebron. All right, so another search and Shechem. Okay, so just as another search, just to clarify,
Joseph was the one that was buried in there.
Hold on. So just to clarify, because the next question, you know how they say, well, it might have been named one thing at one time frame, then named something else. But Shechem and Hebron are two different locations. And it goes into, though there is a difference in the opinion in the biblical account regarding the burial site of the patriarchs, the Bible clearly states that the patriarch Abraham purchased the burial plots in Hebron, and the Jewish and the Islamic tradition also placed the tombs in the patriarchs there. However, the New Testament Council of Acts 16 places the burial in Shechem, which is associated with Joseph's tomb and a crucial city in ancient Israel. So, yeah, that would be one of those contradictions as to where these bodies are, which is why they can't find nothing. But yeah, these two areas are in very different places. Because when
he's like conflating, like I say, he's conflating the two stories. You know what I'm saying? So he's he's misremembering. You know what I'm saying? It's like there's similar stories, but he got the details wrong. You know what I'm saying? There's similar stories.
Yeah, and
because you got Jacob buying a piece of land in Genesis. I forgot which was. I think it's 33. I think it's Genesis 33. He buys a piece of land, and then in Numbers, I think it's Numbers. Oh no, Joshua. My bad, it's Joshua. It said Joshua where Joseph is buried in that piece of land, and they got the same language that you have in Acts. So they mix the two up with Abraham. They mix the Abraham up with Jacob, and they mix the Joseph up with with Jacob. So.
Yeah, and and I appreciate you being here because I'm gonna let the next person come up. But one of the things that this demonstrates is two things that happen right there. The first thing that happened right there is the fact that just as I was explaining earlier, when people say that, oh, you're using ChatGPT, you're using Google, if you know how to effectively use these tools, then you can find out the right information and the correct information based on the questions that you ask. I asked the question about we read Acts, and then I asked the question, where did Abraham purchase land to bury Sarah, which is where he also was buried himself. And then it gives that. And then I asked the question, is Shechem and Hebron the same place? And it shows that no, they're not the same place. Then I went to the maps and I saw that the map showed that they are two different places. So how you use these tools is what matters, not the tool itself. So when these people like to make these stupid ass claims, and I also looked at who is providing this tool, not just the AI, but I look at the articles below to see who's saying what and where it's coming from. That's one. But then two, this example also shows that this Bible is not the inerrant word of this God, because if it was, then it'll all be correct. It also shows that the contradiction of the thought that God is not the author of confusion, bullshit, because all of this stuff creates confusion unless you just don't care and you just want to believe whatever you want to believe. Right.
Yeah.
So, but I appreciate you, Lo, and
all right.
I'm gonna let this other gentleman come up, or I don't know. I'm saying gentleman, I don't know who it is. Appreciate you.
All right.
But we got first One West.
Hey, shalom, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing all right. All right. So, are you over 21?
Yes.
All right. Cool. So.
Okay.
Are you a believer?
Yeah, first of all, I want to say I completely agree with the deconstructing part of Christianity, right?
Okay.
Because that's definitely ruined our people in a lot of ways. But what I think maybe a lot of disconnect is that it's a difference between Christianity and what's actually in the Bible. That'll be like kind of where I'm coming from. But in terms of your topic, right?
Mm-hmm.
Let me ask you, do you believe that John the Baptist was a real man?
No.
Okay. So have you ever heard of a man named Dionysius Exiguus?
Nope. Not right off the bat, no.
Okay, Dionysius Exiguus was the man that created the dating system of the common era of BC, ACE, and AD.
Okay.
Right, he came up with that. He made it. Now, of course, we know it was made in 525 AD.
Mm-hmm.
And when you look him up, the very first work that he is known for is being a part of the discovery of the head of John the Baptist. That was his first work that he helped confirm the head of John the Baptist. And that's why it's a lot of times people get caught up in the dating system and stuff like that. And if he is a person that we're going to use for CE, AD to confirm time frames, we cannot overlook that he was a part that same of confirming that he found the head of John the Baptist. And if they found the head of John the Baptist, that means we got to consider some other things.
Well, making the claim that you found the head of John the Baptist and it actually being the head of John the Baptist is two separate things. Right? Helena claimed that Mount Calvary is where Jesus was crucified. She claimed the spot. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's the spot.
Okay, I agree with you on that. But what I'm saying is, if we're going to use the dating system of the same man and confirm everything, we gotta. If you don't believe that part, you gotta throw out the whole dating system, because that means if he's lying about that, then he's lying.
No. So what you're saying is that if a person lies about one thing, they lied about everything. So have you
in
ever?
terms of making stuff that we're using in 2025, because we're going off that dating system right now. It's 2025 based off his dating system. If we don't believe that, it's not right 2025.
How do you see what if you disprove one thing, you have to disprove the other thing. You cannot disprove one thing and then throw out everything else. You have to be able to disprove the other thing. Certainly, there are historians and scientists and everybody else who claim one thing that is wrong and then claim another thing that is right. Could that not be said? Is that not true?
Yeah, what I'm saying is my premise is I'm not disagreeing with him finding John the Baptist's head. I'm not saying he lied about that. I'm not saying he lied about the time thing. What I'm saying is the time frame that people are using to dispel Christ, this man based the time frame off his death because he used AD and BC. So if you're throwing out that, you have to throw out his time frame, which I'm not saying to do. What I'm saying is he was around in that time where they were able to find evidence of these things. And the first thing that comes up about him, if you look him up, it says he was a part of the discovery of John the Baptist's head. And if John the Baptist was real, we have to consider other things.
I don't have to believe in John the Baptist, but accept the dating that we currently use today. I don't have to throw both of them out. See, you may have to.
Go ahead. I don't want to cut you off. My bad.
You may have to, and you may think that people like me who disagree with John the Baptist actually existing should also throw out the rest of his work. But I disagree with that concept. I don't see the thing about it. The reason why I would not accept that he found the head of John the Baptist is because you're saying this man lived in around 500s in the 500s, right?
I'm saying we all know the dating system was made in 525 AD, so they had to go back. I'm not even saying the time frame. But I'm saying what we're using.
Wait, no. Stop. I am with stop. All I asked was the man who created this. When was he alive? When did he create this? The timeline.
Okay, you want to know when he was alive or when did he create it?
When did he create it?
Because it doesn't give a specific time frame of when the common era was made.
But when you said 525,
it was established in 525 the AD, and they based everything from 525 on back.
Okay, who established it?
The main person was Dionysius Exodus. If you look up common era who made it, it's going to say Dionysius Exodus.
And this person is the one who also claims he found John the Baptist's head. He
didn't say he found it; he confirmed it.
Okay, but he is confirming, so this is happening in 525, right?
I can't give you the exact data when they're saying that's important.
I mean,
that's my point of saying.
You said that he established this AD and CE. I mean, AD and BCE AD and BC in 525. That's when he established it.
That's when he established the time frame.
Okay,
they don't give the exact time of when he confirmed John the Baptist's head. Okay, I'm saying that's a part of the work that
but that would mean that this man was alive in the 6th century, in the 500s.
I'm gonna get the exact his birth. So
I mean, it's just a logical. It's just a logical.
His birth was from 470 to 545, 544.
Okay, so as I was saying, if he established it in 525, he was alive in 525.
Right.
That means that him saying that John the Baptist's head, him confirming John the Baptist's head with the scientific knowledge of in the 500s or in his lifetime, 400s, 500s, he has absolutely zero scientific instrumentation that would confirm that to be John the Baptist's head. And we're talking about a head that would be 500 years old.
Okay, so what that sounds like with history, you will be cherry picked, right? because you're picking to go with his time, his dating system, but not picking a part of his work.
No, it's the thing about it is I'm gonna look at each individual thing as it is and let it stand on its own merit. We all agreed to, Western society agreed to utilize this way of calculating time that was established by this person. Okay, this is what societies for centuries now have agreed upon. There's nothing really to debate about that. I mean, the Jewish calendar is different, the Ethiopian calendar is different, and the Chinese calendar is different. People agree upon what time frame that they're going to use. That's no big deal to me. But trying to say that this is John the Baptist's head, and you have no scientific data that would demonstrate that this is actually John the Baptist's head, is not going to make me agree that this is John the Baptist's head. We need some way of proving that this is John the Baptist's head, other than somebody in power.
To me, that sounds like we ain't got to stay on that. That's my point of saying this is what we use a time frame, and then when that time frame come up with something we don't like, because you believe King Herod reigned in this time frame, right? He's a person, right? You believe in King Herod, right?
There's evidence of King Herod existing. There's coins. Right, so coins that he mentioned.
They say he ruled between 37 BCE to 4 BCE, right?
Roughly, yeah.
Okay, so that would also line up with Christ's life.
No, it doesn't.
Right.
It depends.
Go ahead. I don't mean to cut y'all. My bad. Go ahead.
But this is the contradiction by which we are talking about. If you read the Matthew version, then yes, it aligns with the life of Jesus in the Bible. If you look at the Luke version, it does not align with the life of Jesus in the Bible.
Okay, right. So, right in that situation right there, right? Because I want to stick to the dating, because in terms of biblical, I do want to get into the biblical misconceptions in that too. But with the dating part, my point is just bringing him up. I mean, you said you had never heard of him, so I think you might want to look into Deanna's Exodus to see, confirm his work. I mean, what I like about talking to people that don't believe, and you at least do research, and I respect that, right? So I respect that to talk to somebody that just believe the Holy Ghost talking to them. I definitely can respect what you're doing with the deconstruction from the church and Christianity. Mm-hmm. But definitely look into that with Deanna's Exodus, right? Now, in terms of the Bible, what would be your misconceptions besides what you just said? What else would Christ's birth or what I would like to know?
Well, my misconception?
Yeah. I ain't gonna waste your time. Let me ask you something.
To say a misconception is saying that I'm mistaken in my thought process.
Okay. Well,
when I'm just looking,
we're probably gonna not agree. I'm just trying to bring a point that I would like to get some clarity on what you're saying on, right?
Okay.
Okay, a lot of people think the scriptures are saying that Christ came through immaculate conception. Do you believe that's what it's saying?
Yeah, saying that he's born without sin.
No,
he had a miracle birth. Sorry.
Right. So the scriptures do not say that, and that's what I mean by bringing Christianity away from the Bible. Christianity teaches people that God got Mary pregnant and had nothing to do with his father. And that's not what the scriptures say. If you look at the Hebrew does not mean virgin, mean you have never been with a man. It just means young maiden.
Oh, I agree with that. That the word that was used was they used the word alma. Right?
Say it again?
They used the word alma was in the Hebrew.
Right.
If they wanted it to mean a girl who has never had sex, then they would use the word Bethula.
Right.
So
let's see. Good. That's right.
So but there is the problem within the story, because I believe it's saying that I'm not 100% sure where it says it, so I have to find it. But in the story, it's saying that that she was still betrothed to Joseph, right?
Right, and betrothed means to be married. Right?
To be married. Now, if they are not married yet, that means they haven't had sex.
Well, that'll be another breakdown, but I'm gonna make it short for you. According to the scriptures, you won't ever see when, say, man got married to a woman, you don't see a wedding ceremony every time, right? Most of the times in the scriptures, having sex is marriage.
Yep, having sex is marriage.
Right. So what happened with Mary and Joseph is they actually had a ceremony set up for them, where he went through the proper process of dealing with her family, because he was a Judite, she was a Levite, she was part of the Levite tribe.
Yep.
What he's saying, when he tried to hide her, they had sex before the marriage.
That's adding to the story. It doesn't say anything that they had sex before the marriage.
I'm gonna see. I'm gonna give you one.
Now,
simple one.
now you can make the thought process that, well, since they could have. You can say this. They could have had sex before the marriage, and then she got pregnant, and that's why he wanted to put her away quietly. So you can presuppose that he's the one that had sex with her and she got pregnant. Or you can say that she had sex with somebody else, which is where people get the theory of the Panthera theory, that it was a Roman soldier that she had sex with. And then you have the overall Christian idea of God impregnated her with the Holy Spirit. But but this is where that's where you can just take your own thought process because of the ambiguity of it all, right?
Now let me ask you something. You ever read Hebrews 2:17?
Well, I know I've read it, but can I recall exactly what it is right now? No.
Okay, I'll read it for you. We want to get it when we can. It says, "Wherefore in all things it behooved him to be made like unto his brethren." Right? So his brethren would be the people that's around him. Right? That he might be a merciful and faithful high priest in things. So he's made like his brethren. His brethren was made between man and woman.
You talking about his actual brothers? Is that what you're saying that means?
Say it again?
Are you saying that means that he's made like his brethren, that he was made just like his other brothers, like James?
Right, made through mother and father having sex, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's one scripture that's backing up kind of what I'm saying. Also, all through the scriptures, Christ says he from the seed of David. And if you go through the genealogy, there's nowhere you can confirm that Mary was of the seed of David. If you're going by the Bible, Numbers 1:18 says we go by the seed of the Father.
Right, and the seed but here's the problem with that. The seed of Joseph goes back down, even though it comes from the house of David, but it is from his son Nathan, which Nathan's line was cursed to never sit on the throne.
Say it one more time. Phone start going. I'll say it one more time.
According to the Old Testament, Joseph, so David had another son named Nathan. Nathan is the line that Joseph comes from. But Nathan's line was cursed to never sit on the throne of the Israelites. And the predictions of a Jewish Messiah is that he would sit on the throne. So even coming from the line of Joseph, Jesus could never be the king that sits on the throne.
So what about the seed of David? If it's in Solomon and it's through Nathan, right? That's still David's seed, right?
Right.
So that'll be because there's more than one Nathan in the scriptures too. There's more than one Nathan.
Well, the Nathan from Joseph is the one that's supposed to sit on the throne.
Right. So, but did Joseph sit on the throne?
Did Joseph? No.
So would Joseph be the seed of David who was supposed to sit on the throne?
Joseph could not have become king because he's from the line of Nathan.
But was he also from the seed of David? Is what I'm saying.
Yeah, he's from the seed of David, but he can't sit on the throne.
Okay, that's my point of saying that you can get caught up with that, but he's still from the seed of David.
Okay,
at that time, Judah was not the prominent tribe. Levi was. You
got to fulfill the whole thing, though. The Messiah is supposed to sit on the throne of David.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll leave this. How about Matthew 1, the first chapter? What does it say about Christ? What's the first thing it say about Christ?
I don't know. Gotta go back to it.
I get it. I get it for you. I get it for you.
Oh no, I'm getting it. Yeah, I'm using computer. I got skills.
Yeah. You want me to read it?
You said the first thing that it says about Jesus?
Right, Matthew 1:1.
No, it just says the account of the genealogy of Jesus, the Messiah, the son of David and son of Abraham.
Son of David.
Okay, son of David through the line of Nathan, who cannot sit on the throne.
I don't see Nathan's name nowhere right there.
Is he the literal son of David?
Oh, I can show you that he is. That's another topic.
He is not. Come on, man. Come on. No. He is, I'm not even going. I'm not even going to. I'm not even. No, you're not. Because I'm not even going to entertain that. Because that would be insinuating that David is the one that did the shakalaka boom boom with Mary. There is no metaphorical bullshit that we're going with this one. It's either Joseph banged her, the Roman soldier banged her, or the Holy Spirit banged her. One of those three.
I'm not disagreeing that Joseph had sex with her. That's not what I'm getting off of.
And Joseph,
what you just brought out when you said, was he the son of David? That is another breakdown that we ain't got to go into.
We're not gonna go into it, because the fact of the matter is that line of David that ends up being that Joseph goes through Nathan, and Nathan was said his genealogy would never sit on the throne, but the prophecies of this Messiah of Judea, of the Jewish people, would sit on the throne, and Jesus never sat on the throne, and he could not have sat on the throne. He would never have been recognized to sit on the throne because of the curse of the line of Nathan. You can skip over Nathan if you like, but it just doesn't work.
I'm not skipping over Nathan. The scriptures, literally what I just showed you, are skipping over Nathan. Nathan won't have nothing to do with that, because it said he's the son of David, and he's the son of David two ways. And I ain't gonna waste your time, but why did Christ say he is the offspring of David?
Because he's just relating himself back to that Davidic line.
But what's an offspring?
An offspring is a child.
Okay. Now this is the reason I was saying that I didn't want to get into another breakdown is because another Christianity myth is that when we pass, we go to heaven and hell. The scriptures teach about regeneration. And what people don't know about Christ is he's actually been here more than one time, and Christ was actually Solomon.
Well, here's the problem with all of that.
He was Solomon.
Well, offspring does mean direct descendant in our modern terms of how we utilize it today, but it's still not. In this instance, he is from Joseph loins, according to what you're saying. And that makes him the offspring of Joseph. Now, metaphorically, so metaphorically, you can say that I am the offspring of my grandfather because it goes through my mom, or my grandfather on my dad's side. I'm the offspring of him, of Harry, because of my dad. But biologically and in reality, I'm the offspring of Harold Reed. And I'm truly not the physical offspring of anybody else, but Harold and Mary.
Right. So what I'm bringing to you, it kind of shows that, you know, the way people are reading, and Christianity destroys the way people reading about it. They take out that aspect of it and make it bring people home into saying, okay, this stuff might have actually happened. But if you take out the hocus pocus, it's a lot of hocus pocus that Christianity has put in the Bible, and it ruins people's minds in terms of reading things logically. And you cannot deny that it's saying all through the scriptures that he came through his father's seed. Mary is in the genealogy because she had Christ. Because that was a great story that people can relate to. Right? But it's all through the scriptures where this goes through the seed of the Father. And there's no way Christ to have anything to do with David. If you're talking about it going through just Mary.
Okay. But yeah,
Mary
going through,
right?
yeah, Mary's a Levite, so it can't go through Mary. That's why when people try to say these two genealogies, that one up because of the discrepancies within the genealogies, people try to say that, oh, the Luke one is Mary's genealogy instead of, and the Matthew one is Joseph's genealogy. That doesn't work because genealogy doesn't go through the wife, the mother. They're both from Joseph, but they both have discrepancies in them from the giddy up, from the very beginning.
Okay, well, I can help you out with that. In Matthew, they're giving the generations. That's why you see the other women in there. In Luke, they're giving his direct person-to-person connection. That's why Mary was in there. He had great stories in the scriptures, right? I don't think, right? You see what I'm saying?
No, because that is, I need a way to justify the differences. So I'm going to say that one is generations and the other one is the straight up one, simply because in 17 it says, so these are all the generations of Abraham to David. And it's just skipping over people because it's only giving main people within the generation or something like that. But no, to say that these are the generation, every birth of a child is a new generation. So my son Lincoln is a generation. I then am a generation. My father Harold is a generation. His father Harry is a generation. His father Jack is a generation. His father John is a generation. His father Jack is a generation. And his father John, I know my family did some stupid shit, is a generation. They have problems with this Jack and John shit. So each one of those people are individual people who had a child, and that next child is the generation. To try to say that there's more of an expanded genealogy because they were skipping people and just talking about certain people within generations, that's bull. That doesn't work. That doesn't work.
Okay, so does it give every connection in both scriptures, or do it skip over people?
It's just it's missing people. Matthew is missing a whole bunch. Is missing a bunch of people because he.
And the people that, and okay, well, can we at least agree the people that they didn't skip over are people that were part of great stories, right?
Let me see. Let me take a quick little scan. Because I understand where you're going with that one. That each one of these people has some kind of great story, and that's why those people were named, and the other people didn't have a great story. So that's why those people were not named. Now I would have to go and look up some of these people, because some of these people don't remind me of any great story. Like Zodok doesn't remind me of anything great. Eliakim, I can't think of nothing great about that dude. Eliud, I don't know nothing great about him. So some of these people, there's nothing great about them.
Well, that would be beside what I'm saying. Because like that person, you go back and look at that person, I'm pretty sure they did something to be in that generation.
I don't even remember these people.
Like, for instance, Mary just had a baby.
I don't remember.
Right? What else did Mary do? And she's in there. So is that not considered something great?
That's because
she's a great thing.
She's supposed to be the mother of Jesus, so that should make her great. But so some of these people, some of these people have something
great because she had you, right?
Of course, my mom is. She's great. She's great to me. But this is not greatness to the individual. This is somebody else who's trying to write this story. And in this story, if you're saying that he only mentioned people who were great within each generation, what I'm saying is that we don't, far as I can know right now, I will still have to go back and look. But these people didn't do anything that's noteworthy to be listed in here to proclaim them as someone great. Most of history is written about great people who did something. But that still doesn't make for an excuse. It's really, the more likely.
What I'm pointing out is the way the Bible is read. If you look at it, how I was telling you, this wasn't no immaculate conception. This stuff will come to light, and to people who can read it correctly. I'm not here to make anybody believe.
And it's not reading it correctly. It's reading it with the lens that fits a narrative. Because to read it correctly would just be to accept the information for what it is. And it's most likely, since we're throwing stuff out there, it is most likely that Matthew was writing this based on whoever the author of Matthew is writing this based on either the records that they have available to them, or by what other people have said is the genealogy that they was able to get from those people that they got it from. I don't know, maybe Joseph's family had some tapestries that listed his relatives. Maybe he didn't. Maybe he's just getting it from a grandfather. It's kind of like how a lot of us today, we know some of our ancestors based on what our mothers and grandfathers and fathers can tell us. But then when you go, like I did, and start researching the actual family records and the documentation, you find out some things that your parents and grandparents got wrong. You know, like my family was tripping on some of the information that I told them about my aunts was tripping on information I told them about their dad, that they had been told something their whole life, but the information that they were told was not the actual information that is in the documentation of my grandfather and who his father was and who his uncle was and his mother and all this sorts of thing. That they had bad information because of people's feelings or bad memory. You see what I'm saying? So, there's too much wiggle room. And the thing about it is that this is supposed to be the Bible. It's supposed to be God's word, and it's not. It doesn't match up. Whether we're talking about the genealogy or we're talking about the birth of this Jesus, which the birth of this Jesus does not match up because you got two different stories happening at two different time frames. There's absolutely no way that Jesus was born at the same time frame that Matthew and Luke said it, and there's absolutely no way that they went to the same place after he was born.
And you basing that time frame on what?
The time frame based on what the statements within their story. Matthew claims.
Which one are you talking about?
Matthew claims that Herod the Great was the king of Israel, sat on the throne of Israel at the time frame of Jesus' birth. Luke is claiming that Jesus was born during the time frame of the census of Cyrenius, which was at least 10 years of time difference. How the hell did that wasp get in here? Oh, sorry.
And what time frame was Cyrenius?
He was governor of Syria in 6 CE.
Okay, so I mean, I don't want to go in circles with you, but that was my point when I brought up Dionysius Exodus in the beginning. You're determining if a man was alive or not based off a timeline made by a man that believed that man was alive.
That has nothing to do with anything right there.
I'm going to say it different. The man that you just gave me a time frame on, Dionysius Exodus, wrote about John the Baptist's head being found. That you don't believe John the Baptist is alive. But you're going to use that same time frame to dispel a man saying he was not alive based off the time frame of the man. That's a cherry picking.
That's not cherry picking. That is just looking at the information for what it is, and you're taking what somebody philosophically believes and what somebody mathematically calculate to have to be of the same level of agreement. That would be like me saying that. That would be like saying I should not accept calculus because John Dees believed in Jesus.
No, that's not the same thing, brother. That's not.
Why not? It is. It's the same damn thing. You're saying that a person's professional work and a person's religious beliefs, if you accept one, you have to accept both. And if you don't accept one, then you cannot accept both. That is your argument.
So what you're saying is a man that confirmed that they found on the John the Baptist's head. So you're saying, let's say he's lying about that. That same man can tell.
You just blinked off. You blinked off.
Okay. Can you still hear me?
Yeah, usually this when I tell somebody the old regular phone you got. But go ahead. Go ahead.
That's a 16 Pro here. But what I'm saying is you're taking the word. The man said his works, he confirmed John the Baptist here. This man, right?
Okay.
So you're saying he can lie about that, but he can come right back and decide when things happen on a time frame, and we're going to go with that and overlook that?
Yeah.
Now, that sounds like if he's a liar, he's a liar. If you're
No,
a historian,
no.
right, you're willing to say I lied about finding someone's head. And let me tell you, I'm just saying, man, you're gonna pick one. You can't do that.
Okay.
Like, you have to take in this. If you're going on that time frame to dispel a man, the same man's time frame is confirming a man in this Bible that Christ taught with them.
I understand what you're saying. I just disagree with it, and I think the overwhelming majority, the consensus of people would disagree with that, especially those of higher learning, because based on what you're now. And here's why. Because based on, and this happens quite often when I'm having conversations with Christians or Bible believers concerning Jesus, right? They'll bring up Tacitus as proof of Jesus, right? Matter of fact, let me ask you: do you think that Tacitus writing about Christians is proof of Jesus?
Tacitus writing about proof of Christians.
So Tacitus, who was a Roman historian in the late 1st century, early 2nd century, wrote about people who believed in Jesus. And that is quite often used by believers to prove that Jesus existed.
Okay.
So do you know who Tacitus is?
I never got into it reading. I'm listening to what you're saying. I never got into it.
So now, what I propose to these same people is that Tacitus also wrote about how Vespasian healed a blind man, healed a lame man through the belief and power of the mixed Greek and Egyptian god Serapis.
Serapis would be
Serapis.
Would that connected to Horus?
No, actually, it's Isis, Ra, and Apophis. But
okay.
I mean, well, it's somebody else too. But it's some Greek person, Apophis and Isis. But here's the problem. They will accept his writings about people who believed in Jesus and say Jesus existed, but then they won't accept his writings about Serapis and the people who believed in Serapis. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, because I mean, if you believe in Christ, what time frame is this in you're talking about? I can look it up.
Serapis is,
what's his name? Tacitus.
Tacitus, and the particular writings about the Jesus character, I think they're either in 120 or 116, one around that time frame, that he writes about. He calls them Christians, and he said they believe in a dude named Christus, not Yeshua. But that's not the point. The point is he writes about Serapis, and he also writes about people who believe in Jesus. So he's writing about what people believe in two different religions. Does that mean, so if you accept one, based on your argument, you either have to accept both or you have to deny both?
No, he's just a writer that's writing a story about something people said. The man I'm talking about, he's deciding the time frame. I see where you was going with that, but that's not the same thing I'm saying. He didn't make up two different time frames.
Okay, but
he made up one time frame that we're using today.
So if I could, a person today calculate the actual year that we're in, whatever the year is, and they calculate a different year, could they calculate a year that we're existing in?
Say that one more time.
Could a person today calculate what year we are living in?
Could a person of today do it?
Yeah.
I mean, they would do the same thing that he did, based and go backwards, right?
Okay. So let's say a person calculates going backwards the time frame and says that, oh, this is actually the year 2024. It is not the year 2025, right? That person, and let's say that person believed in Hinduism. Does the belief in Hinduism and them calculating the time have anything to do with each other?
It could depend on the person you're talking about. It could. That would depend on that person, because the truth, the facts are the facts, right? Because like I said, people can't lie. So that's not. I'm not throwing that aspect of it out. What I'm saying is, if he's making a time frame that you're going to use to dispel Christ being there, you just said you don't believe what Matthew said because of the time frame based off CE and AD and all that. The same man that you're saying that made that time frame that you're using, wrote on John the Baptist's head. So that's what I'm saying. It's like there's no analogy you can bring. So you got to take one without the other. I'm saying I agree with him on both.
We going in circles now, because I think your argument.
We can tell you, I actually do got to go. I just want to tap in on what you were saying. Like I said, brother, I do appreciate the research. I'm not saying you don't know nothing. That's not what I came for.
I don't know. I never took it that way.
I'll come back. We can tap in. You know what I'm saying? I want to put that, part of the equation onto it.
Yeah, we just gonna disagree on that one.
Yeah, no sweat. Like I said, I ain't coming to save nobody. I'm just coming. I do my research too. I like to talk about this stuff. You know what I'm saying? We can reconvene with something else later on, or talk deep into it another time. All right, no sweat, brother.
All right, bro. Talk to you later. Lee Man. And what I believe. Oh, right. Real quick before we get into it, I kept saying the line of Nathan, and it's not Nathan. Is Jekonai. I'm saying the name wrong. Jeconiah is the line that was the royal line that was cursed. Now I have to look it up again to see who's in that line, because I might still been right saying Nathan, but I might be wrong saying Nathan, and it was a different because this Jekonai was listed in Matthew's genealogy. So I kept saying Nathan, but that's not the right person. Y'all know if I make a mistake, I will go and correct myself real quick. So Lee Man, are you over 21?
I am.
Okay, and are you a believer?
I am a believer in God. I'm Muslim, so I'm not really Christian.
Okay, so you believe in Allah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. And as far as the topic today,
I was curious what you meant by multiple contradictions with the birth of Jesus. Are you talking about multiple contradictions with the narrations of the birth of Jesus, or with the birth of Jesus itself?
what's the difference?
I mean,
the narration is the only thing that would validate, that would state about the birth of Jesus.
Not necessarily. You know, as Muslims, we take we have the historical account, but we put into question the historical account, right? Because it seems to be contradictory. It seems to be problematic. There seems to be people that are writing about it that are decades or centuries later, and there seems to be a lot of political, religious, monetary, financial reasons for corrupting that message.
Okay, so right? what you're saying is that in Islam, you take the New Testament accounts as the accounts of his birth, and you take them as historical record, but you see the contradictions in it, and you recognize that something's wrong with it.
Yeah, I mean, in general, I mean, whenever there's self-contradictory reports, that means there's something wrong with the reports.
Okay, so if the reports are wrong about the birth of Jesus, then why would you accept that Jesus was actually born?
Right. The reason is because, well, do you believe in God?
That has nothing to do with the conversation.
It does, because
my belief has nothing to do with the substantiation of this character being born.
I know. So we believe in God.
Okay.
And we believe that God gives messages to people. So and then we believe that the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, got a message from God. So God knows what happened with the birth of Jesus.
Okay.
Right? God knows when he was born and how he was born and what happened. And so God can tell Muhammad what happened, and then we take that as the truth. And then we look at the other narrations, but we put into doubt those narrations. We're not really sure if they're correct or not.
Okay, so how can you verify that the accounts of Muhammad on the accounts of Muhammad on Jesus' birth is true that God told him? How do you verify that? And what are the accounts of his birth based on Muhammad?
Right. So there's a number of questions in there. The first question is, how can we be sure that we know, or how can we be sure that what was related to us from Muhammad to us is correct? That first question is answered by actual reliable preservation. So I memorized the entire Quran. My teacher memorized the entire Quran, and my teacher has a chain of memorizers all the way back to Muhammad. So when we say we preserved the Quran, we preserved it orally, but we also preserved it by writing. So we have evidence that shows that the companions of Muhammad, peace be upon him, wrote the Quran while he was alive. The person that came after his death, he compiled it, he put it together, and then the third caliph made sure that there was only one copy and spread it around the world. So we have a preserved Quran from Muhammad. Okay, so we have a preserved copy of the Iliad and the Odyssey, and that its information is exactly as Homer wrote it. So that means that Achilles actually existed. No. The first thing that you have to see is it actually from Muhammad or not? No.
We know that it's from Homer.
That's good. So you know it's from Homer.
So if Homer wrote that Achilles is a demigod who fought in the Trojan War.
That's the second step. Is Homer telling the truth? That's the second step.
Okay, so that will be the second step. So literature itself is not proof.
Yeah, I agree. So the second step then is we can confirm that this is literature. These are the words that Muhammad said. But how do we know that the words that Muhammad said were correct? Okay. So then again, the question occurs, do you even, for example, there are some people that think that God or the existence of God is impossible. We think that the existence of God is necessary, that God must be. And so when Muhammad says, I got revelation from God, we believe that based on miracles and evidence that he performed.
So everything is belief.
It is what
belief is not proof.
So the way that I explain belief and certainty and knowledge is I think about belief as a bigger circle of things that people hold to be kind of true. Then certainty is what you're really sure about, and then knowledge is what you're 100% sure about. Like, for example, I see you right now, you're smoking something. I'm certain you're smoking something, right?
Yeah.
I don't know what you're smoking.
It's a cigar.
There you go.
And be clear so that all the airways know it's a cigar and not something else. But it's a cigar.
So, right? Like, I'm certain that you're sitting there and you're smoking something, right?
Yep.
Like, I don't just believe that I also believe that you're sitting there smoking something, but I'm also certain. Now, do I know with 100% knowledge? No, I mean, you could be an AI generated thing, right? Right? So this is how I define the circles of belief, certainty, and knowledge. So when we say that we believe that Muhammad is a messenger of God, not only do we believe it, but we're certain of it based on evidence.
What's the evidence? That's what I've been asking, and you haven't provided any other than belief.
The miracles that he performed, but now people reject miracles if they don't actually believe in God.
How do you know that those are miracles?
Impossible.
How do you know that he performed those miracles?
People told us he did.
Huh?
People told us he did.
Okay. People telling you that somebody performed a miracle is not evidence.
Yeah. So, for example, do you believe that Antarctica exists?
No, I know that Antarctica exists since I put my foot on it.
Oh, you went and you put your foot on Antarctica.
Mm-hmm.
You've been to Antarctica.
Yeah.
Oh, really? When?
When I was in the Marine Corps.
Oh, that's crazy.
And that's about all I can tell you
You're
about it.
probably the first person I've ever met that's actually been to Antarctica yourself.
Yep. Okay.
That doesn't work for us now. Like, usually I tell people, do you believe in Antarctica? And they say yes. and then they say I haven't never been there, but I believe it because everyone told me so.
But even in today's world, you can watch live cameras of places to see if they exist.
Absolutely. I agree with you.
So other people.
What about the moon landing?
Huh?
What about the moon landing? You believe in the moon landings? Don't tell me you sat foot on the moon too.
I wish. I wish. I would never come back because I don't want to be here with these humans. But I do have my doubts about it, but my doubts have nothing to do with all the conspiracy theory aspects of it.
I gotcha. So you, like, in general, would you hold it to be true that people set foot on the moon?
I'm gonna give it about 50-50.
Okay, so you're like a maybe.
So
right?
let me tell you my reason. My reason is because I recognize how government propaganda is used in order to facilitate an idea simply because of what's going on. We were in a space race against the Russians at that time frame.
Mm-hmm.
So seeing as how the technology that we had at that time frame is very difficult to accept that we were technologically advanced at that time frame to go.
Yeah.
I wouldn't, especially because of things that I seen while I was in the Marine Corps, I would not have put it past the 1960s government to say that we went there and we didn't actually go there. Do I think we have the technology now to go? I think we could go now. So I don't think it's impossible as many of the conspiracy theorist people say.
Okay, gotcha. So that's the main question is do you think that miracles are impossible?
I don't think there's any such thing as miracle, just cause and effect.
Let me tell you what I define miracles as.
Mm-hmm.
A miracle is a break from natural processes.
There's nothing outside of nature, though. That's the problem with that thought process.
So, for example, have you ever heard the story of Moses? Like Moses, peace be upon him, is said to have split the sea.
Yeah, we talked about that yesterday, and Moses' story is a fabrication. There's no evidence of Moses at all, or the Red Sea. I mean, or the events of the Red Sea, or the slavery in Egypt. The entire story is fabrication.
I gotcha. No, but my question is, like, you don't believe in miracles because you don't believe in God at all.
That has nothing to do with me thinking about miracles. In the fact that there are no miracles. There is nothing that is outside of nature. There are only causations that we don't understand or don't know of. So everything is cause and effect.
Can that cause be God?
Not without proof that there is a God.
Okay. Is a miracle proof that there is a God?
There are no such things as miracles.
So
a miracle wouldn't be proof of God because that would just be God. If let's say God existed, God would just be doing something that is still within nature, within the possibilities of nature.
Gotcha. So say you're standing next to Moses. Moses says, I'm a messenger of God. And you say, prove it. So Moses splits the sea. Are you believing in God or not?
Nope.
Oh, you're still not believing in God.
Nope, because I'm going to wonder what natural causation facilitate that. Like what I'm more apt to believe that I would be more apt to believe that Moses has some kind of power within himself that allowed him to split that water. Like somehow he was able to.
Even though he said, I'm doing this by God's power, and God is the one actually doing this. This is my proof for you that this is the existence of God.
Well, he could be wrong. He could just be saying it because he believes in a God. You know what I'm saying? He believes in a God. That doesn't necessarily mean that I got to accept that is where this power is coming from.
So let me ask you this. Why don't you believe in a God?
There's no proof of a God.
Well,
hold on. Speaking of miracles. So I watched this documentary video of this guy finally let somebody record him, but this Chinese monk guy he believes in focusing his chi energy, and he set some paper on fire by focusing his chi energy, right?
That's crazy.
Now people would say that's a miracle, right?
Yeah.
But he doesn't believe in any of the gods of Abraham, the Abrahamic gods. I think he's Buddhist, which means that he doesn't necessarily believe in a God, period. So I don't deem it as a miracle. I deem it as there are certain aspects about the human body and how we function on this earth and our connection to everything that we don't quite understand and haven't been able to access. This, if I was standing next to Moses, he accessed some shit that I don't know how he accessed it. And if anything, I would start believing that shit, if he can do it, I can do it. But I don't need a God to do it.
Got it. Okay. So even though Moses puts the sea in front of your eyes, and then you walk down the river, the sea bed of it, and then he says, by the way, that was God. You're like, nah, I don't believe you.
I'm like, nah, dude, what superpower, what did you do? How did you figure out how to separate, how to communicate with the energy of the water? Yeah.
It kind of sounds like you have a problem with the existence of God. I wonder what that problem is.
There's no evidence of that, God.
Well, the splitting of the sea is evidence.
The splitting of the sea, we don't have evidence that actually happened.
No. I'm saying if it did happen in front of your eyes.
I mean, if it was a fish, we'd all be drunk. But I would seek more detailed information. Now you have to demonstrate. If Moses said that was through the power of God, all right, you got to demonstrate that God exists. Actions of you performing something doesn't demonstrate the God. It demonstrates you having the ability to perform something. Now, if you had said, if I was sitting, it would be more, a better example would have been if I was up on the top of the mountain with Moses, the first time he goes up, gets the 10 Commandments, and out of nothing, this God writes on these tablets the 10 Commandments. Then I'm not looking at Moses, I'm looking at something else wrote those 10 Commandments, because if you remember the story, Moses didn't write the first 10 Commandments. God penned them, according to the story, God penned them himself. So if I'm present and I see that, then I know that it's outside of Moses, that it's something else. Now my question is, then I would be more apt to say, well, what is this something else?
So we don't actually have that story. We have the story that God gave Moses the tablet, but we don't specifically say that God wrote it himself. We don't actually believe in a physical God.
Okay. I mean, yeah, in the Old Testament, God goes from being physical to ethereal to being physical to being ethereal.
No. Our God, our belief in God is that God is never physical.
Okay.
He never actually becomes creation. He never actually becomes something that you can touch. So it kind of sounds like you want to go touch God.
That'd be easy. That'd be nice.
Yeah, but you can't, because it's impossible.
Then God is impossible. Because everything in the universe at some point has can your God become physical if it chooses to?
No.
So your God has limitations on his powers.
Yeah, the limitation is logical coherence.
Okay, so you have a limited God. I wouldn't accept a God that is limited by anything.
Why not?
Because a God has to be all things, has to be all powerful. So a God says me.
Why?
Because I say so. Because that's my definition. Because that is my definition of a God. Right? It wouldn't make it true for you, but that is going to be what makes it true for me.
Let me explain what we mean when we say God is powerful. What we mean is that God is able to create all logical possibilities, and that God controls all things that exist.
So is not God then powerful enough to manifest himself in a physical form?
No. Then
that God is not all powerful. He might be powerful, but he's not all powerful.
Look, if you listen, you'll understand what I'm saying. God, by definition, cannot lose his power, right? A thing that exists physically is less power. It has less power. It has a limited existence. It has a finite amount of matter. It has only so many atoms. This limitation cannot apply to God. So, for example, there are things that I can do that God cannot do. I can die. I can cease to exist. But God, it is impossible for him to cease to exist. God is the necessary existence. So I can die. God can't die.
Yeah, I don't see that way.
You think God can die? Your God, who is
No.
all powerful, can die.
I don't think that there's any such thing as death or ceasing to exist, because energy can never cease to exist. Your coherent consciousness. Hold on. Your coherent consciousness may cease to be coherent and together, but the energy that creates, the energy that you are, never ceases to exist. It just transmutes from one energy form to another energy form. And
I see. So
there's no such thing as
Are you like a material in like an eternal material physical world kind of thing? Is that what you're saying? The universe is eternal.
The universe is everything and everywhere at all times.
Okay. No, but what I'm saying is like it's eternal.
Internal, external is everywhere. There's nothing outside of the
right? Do you understand what I mean when I say that God is all powerful? What I mean is God is able to create all logical possibilities and control all things.
I understand what you're saying. I just disagree. That because
you think that God should be able to do impossible things.
There is nothing impossible. That's where you're missing.
But then that's the question. In this theoretical God that you would potentially believe in, this God can do impossible things because nothing is impossible. Therefore, God can just cease to exist. Your God that you want to believe in can cease to exist.
Nothing can cease to exist.
Oh, okay. Well, then it's impossible. Oh my God, your God can't cease to exist then. That's a limitation.
Okay. I give you that one. I give you that one. That's a turn of phrase. I give you that one.
So your God is not all powerful.
But here's the thing. I don't believe that there's a God. So it doesn't matter.
I got you. So that's why I'm telling you that the God that we believe in is the one that can create all logical possibilities. I'm not telling you that you have to believe in this God. I'm clarifying the definition of all powerful. Okay. So
you believe in a God. I can't argue faith. Faith is what you believe in. You believe it? Okay.
No, but there's reasons for our
belief. But you haven't provided any evidence of your God. You haven't provided any evidence that he spoke to Muhammad, because that's just to get back to where we were. To get back to where we to get back to where to get back to where we were, because I don't argue faith. All right. To get back to where we were, you haven't provided any evidence that Muhammad, and we still haven't gotten to what you guys' storyline is of the birth of Jesus.
I mean, the splitting of the sea is not enough. So what kind of evidence would suffice?
What is the evidence that your God spoke to Muhammad other than literature? Because what is the evidence of the miracle? What miracle did Muhammad perform?
He split the moon.
Okay, Muhammad split the moon. Which, what's the evidence that the moon has ever been split?
People, they said they saw the moon getting split.
Where's this information recorded?
It's recorded in all kinds of narrations from the time of Muhammad.
So if the moon split, then we should be able to find that. And Muhammad was what, 500, 600?
About 1400 years ago. Yeah, about 600.
By 600. So there should be people all over the world who recorded that the moon split in 600 CE.
Not necessarily.
How?
Not necessarily. If God exists and he's able to do all things, he can split the moon without leaving any trace. And he can split the moon and only show it to certain people. Like, for example, the people that are in that area.
Yeah, no.
There's other ideas.
I'm sorry, sir. I'm sorry. I'm not going to let you slide with that one. That would make absolutely no sense whatsoever. That would demonstrate that your God, if he truly wanted everybody to believe in him.
No, he doesn't. Who told you that he wants everyone to believe in him?
I don't know. Muslims, other Muslims.
You're just assuming that. No, that's not the case.
No, I'm just telling you what other Muslims told me, that Islam is the only true religion of Allah, and that everybody's supposed to be following Islam.
No, they're supposed to be. That doesn't mean that that's God's will.
So Allah doesn't want everybody to follow him.
It depends on what you mean by want. There's two things that want means. Want means a will, and the things that you love. There's two different things. That's why everyone gets confused on wants.
So Allah got some chosen people.
Sorry?
So Allah got some chosen people.
Yes, the believers are the people that are chosen by God.
Believers. So he wants you to believe.
He commands you to believe.
Who does he want to believe?
Like, if you use want, you're just going to get confused because want means both command and will.
Who is supposed to be believers in Allah?
God commands all of humanity to believe.
So Allah wants everybody to believe in him. Dude, you went 11 miles in a circle to say the same damn thing. See that? No, stop. That kind of shit is what irritates me with religious people. Is that y'all go through a whole bunch of word salad just to get to the same damn thing that I said. Your God, Allah, wants everybody to believe in him, but you get hung up on the word want, right? But your God wills, okay, it's fine. Your God wills for everyone to believe in him. But in his will, for everybody to believe in him, he only allows certain people to see the splitting of the moon, which would have been hella proof that your God exists.
He does not will everyone is going to believe.
You just said he. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, if you listen to what I'm saying.
No, I'm tired of listening to what you're saying, because what you're saying now, you went into the whole word salad bullshit. See, because
word salad.
It's word salad bullshit, because you're saying that you just said he wills for all humanity, right? It is his will. It is his will for all humanity to worship him, right?
Ask a question. Go ahead and say that again.
It is his will that all humanity would worship him.
No.
You just said that.
I did not.
What did you say?
That's why I wanted to be very clear about the words that I'm using.
What did you say?
I said it is his command.
It is his command.
But not his will.
It is his command that all of humanity will worship him, which is still all humanity. Right?
That's right. It's his command that all people believe.
And just as
not his will that all people believe.
And just as other people in the comments are saying, you did say it is his will. Okay.
I mean, if I said it, then I made a mistake.
All right. But it is his now command. So he's giving a directive that everybody must worship him. Right?
That's right.
Now, if he commanded, if it is his command that everybody should worship him, and his proof, part of his proof is that Muhammad split the moon, but he only wanted certain people to see it, that goes against his command of everybody worshiping him, because you would want everybody to see it.
That's right. So there's a difference between his command and his will. So let me explain. He commands belief, but only wills it for certain people. Does that make sense?
No, it does not make sense, because I'm commanding everybody to believe in me, but it is only my will that these certain people believe in me. That's stupid.
That's right.
That's dumb. That would make me deconstruct. That in itself would make me deconstruct from Islam right off the whip, because he want to command everybody, but he only has a will for these people. And so that's why he only willed these people to be able to see the splitting of the moon. Even though he commands everybody, I'm only going to give evidence for these people I've willed. That's and I know you're going to be offended by this, but that's a dumbass God.
I mean, you don't have to be insulting just for the sake of being insulting.
No, because I'm not being insulting for the sake of it. I'm expressing it in how I would think about that God. I would think that God has a piss poor plan, does piss poor actions, because if I got 3 children, right? If I wanted all my children to accept something about me, or something that I said, or something like, or it's just accept me, period. I'm not going to show one of them I'm not going to show evidence to one and then not show evidence to the other 2. I'm going to show the evidence to all 3 of them if that is my will and my command. That's picking favorites.
Let me give you an example. Even if God showed everyone on the earth that existed at that time that the moon split, did he show you? Well, you're like 1,000 years later. He's not going to show you. How come he showed them but didn't show you? That sounds unfair, huh?
Yeah, I also find that intriguing about all these guys. They always seem to show up to people back in the day, and then none of them show up. None of them show up today. So they all got that problem.
So something else
But-
is going on.
But hold on.
That's what I'm telling you.
But hold
I'm
on.
giving you the answer of what else is going on.
What else is going on that shows proof of your God right now?
Like I said, I'm trying to make sure that you understand what I'm saying, because this is something that most people don't talk about because it's uncomfortable. Most people don't want to admit it, and most people don't like it either, right? What I'm trying to tell you is that there are some people that God has chosen to believe, and there are some people that God has chosen that they're going to disbelieve. That is part of God's will. But God has commanded everyone to believe, and has chosen that some people are not going to believe. He has chosen disbelievers just as he's chosen believers.
Oh, so Islamic Calvinism.
It's what? Calvinism?
Islamic Calvinism.
Yeah, pretty much.
That
we
your God has
understand
predetermined who's going to believe and who's not going to not believe. So therefore, your God has predetermined and decided to allow for the creation of people who are going to suffer in Muslim hell.
That's right. Mm-hmm.
For however long they suffer in Muslim hell. So that's evil as fuck.
No, we don't think that morality applies
Well,
to God.
of course you wouldn't, because you think you're in the in crowd. But that's evil as fuck. To say that that's like me saying that, going to my wife and saying, hey, I want to have a baby just so that we can torture the fuck out of this baby. That's evil as hell.
Evil based on what? What's the basis for your evilness?
Based on the fact that I'm taking away someone's agency just and creating them just to abuse them. That's evil. And the only barometer that I need to determine what is good and evil is me. That's evil as fuck. And
so says you.
Yeah, says me.
We're supposed to take you as the measure of good and evil.
I think that a person who would believe that a God created people for the purpose of sending them to a torture, no matter how they live their life, is an evil ass God. And that person has a sickness.
In your opinion.
The person who believes that has a sickness.
In your opinion.
That's the one that matters. See, I'm like y'all, I don't give my agency over to somebody else. You give your agency over to somebody else or something that you believe in. I don't do that. So yes, to me, torturing people for the sake of torture is evil. Because if I were to have if I had a baby and I tortured that baby, is that evil to you?
I define evil as disobedience of God, and I define good as obedience of God.
If I had a baby and I tortured that baby, is that evil to you?
Yeah, because God prohibited that. I'm just giving you straight answers. I don't know more.
So it's only evil to you because your God says so, not because of your own humanity doesn't say so.
God has placed an intrinsic compass within ourselves, but there's not.
Okay, you know what? I've allotted you enough time. I'm done with that, because if your God told you to kill somebody, you go kill somebody. So
here's the thing, right?
No,
the Quran describes God.
There's no thing, because you believe in an evil ass God and you would do evil shit because of your God, and you went beyond my ability to stomach the immorality of your thought process. So be gone. That's just crazy to me. I'm not talking to sick ass people. Sergeant Roy.
How you doing, my friend?
Pretty good. I'm guessing you're over 21.
Yes, I'm over 21 and I'm a Christian.
You're a Christian, and you're a sergeant of what? I just got to ask.
Where do I begin? I am a veteran of 36 years old. I got out as a sergeant major.
Oh, you're a Marine.
Army.
Oh yeah, y'all do have sergeant majors as well. My bad.
Right, yeah.
I forget sometimes.
I've been a trainer in fitness and stuff, so people call me that, and the name just stuck.
Oh, gotcha. Well, welcome to the show. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Ain't really Marines yet, but it's okay.
That's okay.
we can only say that kind of stuff to each other. The rest of you people can't say anything about
we're
that.
Cousins and stuff. We're the only ones we can pick on each other.
Exactly. So What do you have about the topic?
Well, multiple contradictions with Jesus' birth. I've gotten on some of these lives and stuff, and I hear it's like a topic for a lot of people out there. They don't understand what they're calling contradictions. Like I'm finishing up Bible college right now and learning about the history of how the Bible's put together. Because the Bible's it's not only just a religious book; it's a history book. It's a book that's written in many different ways, so a book on it's figuratively, it's written figuratively, it's written with laws and all kinds of stuff. But anyway, when people start pulling apart the Bible, they're looking for, well, if the Bible doesn't say this particular thing in Scripture, it's not true. It's a contradiction. And one of the things they don't understand, the Bible is written by, there's over 40 authors. You're talking about not just one book. It's a collection of 66 books.
Mm-hmm.
And 40 authors, and they're written in different demographic locations by different people, different occupations. And the things that they're calling contradictions are actually called textual variances.
Okay, but sorry, Major.
I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about.
I need this right here.
Right. So when you're talking about, when you ask people about 9/11, when those planes crashed into the World Trade Tower, if you listen to everybody's story, if anything, everybody has their own version of what happened that day, and it's not, exactly the same. But what is the same? The same resolution is that the plane hit the World Trade Tower. That's the same. So, in other words, like in the Bible, you have one writer saying, well, Jesus was born in a manger. Some say that he was born in a stable, whatever. These are supposed to be read with these are accounts of separate people giving their account how they experienced the birth of Jesus Christ.
But that's not the contradiction.
However, the result is that Jesus was born.
Sorry, Major. No, that's not the contradiction. So
that's not a contradiction.
That's not the contradiction that I'm talking about here. I understand the whole thing about the placement of Jesus' birth, more so than most Christians. But I'm pretty sure you've already learned that the inn is not a freaking hotel, as most Christians run around thinking. Right. No,
actually, if you go to Israel, you can go there. It's like more of a barn than anything else.
Right. It's at the bottom of a house where they keep small animals.
Right. Animals and stuff.
Yeah. And so it's within a family. An inn is a family home. So that's not that. Those little details is not where I see the contradiction in the birth story. Right.
Right.
So to put it in your example, to say that, we just know that the planes hit the building. All right. I don't think that that's accurate to be able to utilize in the same situation, because it would be one thing if 9/11 happened in 2001, 2001? What year?
2001.
2001. So if someone wrote that 9/11 happened in 2001, but under Bush, but another person writes that nope, 9/11 happened in 2008 under that was Obama, right? 2008. I don't know, but happened in 2008, right? Could the events have happened? And then one person is saying that the planes hit the buildings in New York, and another person saying that the planes hit the buildings in Atlanta. One of them has to be wrong, right?
Right, and that's a great example you're using there, because like when people say there's many different versions of the Bible, actually there's over 6,000 different copies that we have of the Bible.
Okay.
And they use a technique where and as a matter of fact, we want that, because like using your example, you take all those testimonies of people talking about what happened on 9/11, and you compare them together, and you analyze them together, and then that will spring forth the truth. And we use that. The police department uses that. It's called the theory of evidence.
Right. So.
Like I had a relative of mine, he got caught in trouble with the police. They arrested 10 guys, and if you notice, the police, it's a technique they do all the time. They will separate those 10 guys, and they will interview them and find out their account, what happened.
Right.
And of course, out of 10 guys, they'll get all the stories, and they will find out who's telling the truth and who's lying.
Okay, so let me ask you this question then. If the birth of Jesus, according to Luke, happened in 6 CE, And then after the birth, they went to Jerusalem, and then they went to Galilee, like right while Jesus was still an infant. The Matthew version says that because he was born under Herod the Great, which would have put Jesus in either 6 BCE time frame or 4 BCE time frame. And then Matthew says they went to Egypt. Both of those cannot be true. Somebody has to be wrong.
Well, again, you're taking the accounts of two separate people, and also too, and I won't go into detail. They talk about the way that they traveled, the caravans, Jesus going to Egypt, and all of that. There, and they still line up. If you look at what Luke is talking about, what you said, Matthew and all, Paul, all of them, what they're talking about, you're hearing individual accounts of what happened. And the result is, was Jesus, really the conclusion of this is, was Jesus a real person? Did he actually live?
Well,
and if you take all the evidences, he did, because there's evidences, not only just biblical evidence, but there's evidence that's non-Christian evidence.
There's no evidence that he actually lived. There's evidence of what people believe.
We have the writings of the Cephas.
Evidence that that's an interpretation.
Polycarp. You have the writings of Ignatius, as another Roman writer.
I know all the people you're going to name, and all those people are really just telling you that there were people who believed this. That's not that's not evidence of that person.
Test history. That's the test. When someone gives you a true statement or something, you have to have evidence. Someone just can't just come up and say, "Okay, the sky's green." Well, I say it's blue. Well, you have to have a test for truth. It goes against the law of contradiction. Two things cannot be true at the same time.
Well, Pliny the Elder, Pliny the Younger, and Tacitus also wrote about Serapis and what people believe that Serapis did. So does that mean Serapis existed?
Well, that's not true, because you have other writers. You have Polycarp, you have Irenaeus,
you got 3 historians who are writing that Serapis existed. And I think Suetonius wrote about Serapis as well. So you got other historical writers. The same writers that you would say is proof that Jesus existed are the same writers that wrote about other gods existing.
That's not true.
That is very much true. Go read Tacitus' Annuals, and you will see that Tacitus writes about Vespasian performing miracles in Egypt at the behest of Serapis.
All right, what gods did they write about?
Serapis. They also wrote about the Germanic gods who, over time, becomes Odin and Thor. They weren't called that at that time frame, but they also wrote about those gods.
Let's even say that's true. But that's where it stops. The other writings that goes on, you go on about not only the birth of Jesus Christ, you go on about his life. He's recorded being in the temple as a young kid. He's only recorded in the Bible being in the temple as a young kid. He ain't recorded outside the Bible being in the temple as a young kid. It's in the book where his parents they were looking for him. They found him in the synagogue preaching. Yes. Yeah, that's in Matthew. Yeah, pardon me? That's in Matthew. There's nowhere else. Yeah, but again, that's a piece you have to acknowledge that. And that's one dude that wrote that. One person who we don't know who that person is. Well, you do have the evidence. It's written right. It's right there. But I'm just saying you have the different. You have even Bibles that date back to the 3rd century that say the same thing. So one could be lying, 2 can be in a conspiracy, 3 can be in a conundrum or something. But the thing is that you can't have all people testifying to the same thing. It doesn't make sense. Yeah, either they're all delusional or they're crazy. They're telling the truth or they're crazy. No, because that's how all religions are. You got multiple people testifying to their belief in Zeus and their belief in. You go to the walls of Egypt and you got people testifying to the existence of Ra and Horus and Isis and all these other gods. And that's a great point, because I've been to Egypt. Right. And the thing is that you got to understand, in the culture of that time, when Jesus said that he is God, that you're in a culture where especially the Roman culture, where there was a God for everything. There was a God for the water. There was a God for the sun. There was a God for everything. And they had false prophets out there, people that were saying that, as a matter of fact, when Jesus showed up on the scene, they just didn't, saying that he was God was not really an uncommon thing to say. But what he was being crucified was that he was being crucified for blaspheming to the Jewish people because he claimed to be God.
Okay. So, but so what you're doing is just basing things off the Bible, and just basing it. The Bible cannot prove itself. That doesn't work. And
it does, because you see, like the universe. Scientists already proven that the universe has already had a beginning. It has a beginning.
Nope, you're misunderstanding what the science. I don't know why people keep misunderstanding what the scientists are saying. They're not saying that the
come out in the latest papers. They've already
and y'all are not reading that correctly.
But the thing is
stop. It is not that.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
It is not that the scientists are saying that the universe has a beginning. The multiple causation string singularity is that our known universe that creates our solar system and what we can see has a beginning from a singularity, but that there are infinite numbers of singularities, which is the causation of all the multiple universes that we are. And they're calling it a multiverse, and it's not really a multiverse in the sense that there's multiple versions of you and me.
Exactly, and that's what you're saying. You're saying a little bit more, but it's exactly what you're saying. The same thing.
No, we're not. Because our solar system has a beginning, but that beginning is what we know of in our known solar system. But the energy in every aspect of our solar system has an eternal existence. Is what that paper says. Is what that paper is talking about.
That's not. It's a scientist said it has a beginning, because in other words, if you take the scientific view of using the definition of science, for something to be scientific, it must be repeatable. It must be repeatable.
And there are singularities that are occurring within our own known universe that demonstrates the same process that they theorize of our universe.
Okay, well, you're gonna have to show me that, because when people talk about the Big Bang Theory, I should be able to look in my telescope and see a Big Bang that finished, one that's getting ready to start, or one that has completed. You
got to have a hell of a telescope, my guy, to see that. Because this is being seen through the James Webb telescope, so you ain't gonna see this from a land-based telescope.
But that's my point. That's my point. Is that you can't. God is the only one that could create something out of nothing, and there's nothing on this planet that created itself out of nothing.
Thermodynamics show that there is no such thing as nothing. Energy has always existed, and you can't create energy out of nothing.
Again, that is a theory.
That part is a fact. You can't create energy out of nothingness, because there is no such thing as nothing.
You can't create anything out of nothing. That's right.
But you just said that your God created out of nothingness.
You can't create something out of nothing, but then you have to agree that if I drew a circle, me and you would be in that circle, and in that circle are our limitations. We are limited by time, space, and matter. Would you agree?
Yeah, right now.
Yeah, we're limited by time, space, and matter. In other words, I can't tell you, and it would be unfair for me even to ask you, what are you going to be doing next Thursday at 3:00 in the afternoon? You don't know that, because we're limited by time. But then again, here's a guy that shows up on the scene who is not limited by time. Jesus.
Yeah, but you have to prove that he existed, though.
But that's what he did prove that. Because he said, and you said all religions are the same. You're talking about the similarities. The difference is that what sets Jesus apart from all the religions in the world is, number one, he's not dead, and number two, he overcame death. So did Krishna. Pardon me?
So did Krishna. Krishna is alive and well, and he has died. I think he's on his 13th, according to Hindu belief. I think he's on his 13th, 7 or 13.
You can go there to his gravesite today. You can go visit it today.
No. Hindus
he's dead. Trust me, he's dead.
No, Hindus do not believe that Krishna is dead.
You can go to those grave sites, brother. Yes, you can.
Hindus. I don't think you understand the Hindu religion, and I don't even understand it.
I don't have to understand. I'm just saying that in the simple case that these religious leaders are dead, you can go to their actual grave sites and their bones are there.
Krishna is not, according to Hinduism, Krishna is not dead. That he has died and come back. Died and come back several times.
No.
Have you ever studied Hinduism?
Everybody tell you.
Have you ever studied Hinduism?
Jesus, that's what sets him apart from all the other religious leaders.
There is always something that sets other religious leaders apart, that doesn't verify that that is true. You know,
well, I tell you one thing: if a guy sits there and he gets crucified in front of and it's eyewitness accounts too.
No,
it's not just the Bible.
That's Paul. That's Paul repeating what somebody told him.
Well, but there is Roman history of crucifixion. You know it's in there. It's in history, but you can't ignore that.
The fact that they had crucifixion, that's like me saying that, well, New York exists, so Spider-Man exists.
But did they have crucifixion? You know that. I mean, they do.
There are many societies that had crucifixions before the Romans. The Greeks had their version of crucifixion.
But it did happen.
No, we have no proof that that actually happened. Many people were crucified, but you don't have proof that the actual Jesus of the Bible was crucified.
And if I were to show you that the evidence for its crucifixion, would that change your mind? Would you give your life to Christ?
What evidence? I wouldn't make that promise.
No, what I'm just saying, if I showed you the evidence that Jesus was real and he died on the cross, would you give your life to Jesus Christ?
No, because you would also have to demonstrate that this Jesus resurrected himself. You would also have to demonstrate this Jesus was God. You'd have to demonstrate he walked on water, that he fed everybody with a 2-piece fish meal. You'd have a lot more to prove than just somebody crucified.
And I'll be respectful. I won't take up your time. I'm just saying, but that's what the Bible's based on. It's based on faith.
Yeah.
It's based on faith in God saying who he is.
That's the main thing right there. It is based on faith. And I can't, you know what, you can't argue faith. And
yeah, right. And that's what I'm just saying. All the religions of the world, which is over about 6,000 of them, they don't teach faith. There's only two kinds.
No. I just got off with an Islamic guy.
There's only two kinds of religion.
Hold on, Mike. Hold on, Sergeant Major. Hold on. Were you listening to the guy before you?
No, I caught the tail end.
Okay, so the guy before you was Muslim, and his stuff is based on faith as well.
Yeah, but again, I won't go into apologetics on about Islam because Muhammad showed up only 400 years.
But it's based. You just said that it's not that your guys are the only one that's based on faith. The Islam is based on faith. Buddhism is based.
It's based on faith.
Correct.
Again, I won't. It's a long discussion, but Islam is not based on faith.
You do have to. You don't have to, but you should realize that your statements like that are based on your confirmation bias of your religion, the one that you believe in. But if you were to speak to Islamic people, they have faith in their belief in that Muhammad spoke to the angel Gabriel and he told him everything to write in the Quran, and then he transferred that information to the other people, and they continuously transferred the correct information and all that. And the guy was even talking about how Muhammad split the moon.
Roger that.
And all of that is based on faith.
Yeah, but again, it comes down to the question: faith in who, in what? And our faith, the Christian faith, is not just faith to be saved. Faith, the faith has a name. And the name is Jesus Christ. Well, they have
faith in Muhammad and faith. They have faith in Jesus to a certain extent, and they have faith in other prophets, and they have faith in Allah.
Yeah, but in the Quran, and I'm just finishing up a study on the Quran. In the Quran, it also says that Muhammad tells the early Muslims to seek the people of the book. It says that in the Surah. Yeah, it says that. Yeah, he demonstrates the relationship to the Judaism and Christianity, but you can't say the similarities just because there's similarities. There's similarities in everything, man. You just get you got to see what the differences are. That's how you draw out truth. Well, that's not necessarily how you draw out truth. That's how you draw out your truth. Well, again, you want to pinpoint this on me, and I know a lot of people that tackle this topic don't focus on me. I'm trying to. You're putting the spotlight on me. It's not me. I'm trying to put the focus point on Jesus Christ, on the man. Well, Jesus Christ. The spotlight. I understand. When the only spotlight that I'm putting on you is the fact that you believe by faith. And that's fine. If you believe by faith, then faith can't be argued because that's how you feel. All right. What I look at is evidence, and if the evidence doesn't pan out, then the evidence just simply don't pan out. And the fact of the matter is, this Jesus story, as far as his birth is concerned, yeah, you can easily say the only thing that matters is the fact that he was born. But as you had given the example with a police officer situation,
there has to be, especially when we're talking about a person that you cannot go to and identify that person right now. You only have these accounts by different people. These accounts are so different that it puts Jesus born with a 10-year gap. So I would have to question whether or not he was actually born.
I don't think you're being, fair, because the thing, again, this is back in the day where they didn't have the internet, they didn't have television, they didn't have the computers and all that stuff, and it was all by word of mouth. And really, back in those days, even people that call themselves prophets, if you were calling yourself a prophet, you weren't telling the truth. Well, back in those days, they would kill you. So there was kind of a checks and balances there. But the thing is that Jesus Christ, the thing is that he was a real person. And you have to look at, it's not about what I say, it's what they say. Because like if Jesus walked up to you today, the gospel of Christianity is not based on gathering all this knowledge and proving to me this and proving to me that. It's just the thing is that, let's say we, hypothetically, if Jesus walked up to you today and said, follow me, would you follow him? Yes or no? And there were people that, and even in the Bible, there were people that didn't follow Jesus for those various reasons you're stating today. I don't believe he's the Son of God. I don't believe he's this. I don't believe he's that. But it comes down to, the big question for all of us is either Jesus is he telling the truth or is he a lunatic? Is he telling the truth or is he a lunatic?
Now, there's more to that. That one is lunatic, liar, or legend. It's lunatic, liar, or legend.
You're a Marine. You're supposed to die. You're supposed to die on command. You're not allowed to die without permission. I know that about you guys. But the thing is that,
and I stood in front of many NJPs and won. But
right, because the thing is that I'm just saying your life is valuable. Your life has meaning, and there are people out there that say, okay, if it doesn't matter, okay, so what is your life? If life is just like whatever you make it, whatever truth you want to make it. So when you die, what values on your life? Do you just go out? Because if these people are right, all these atheists are right, then I have nothing to lose. I'll just be with them. I have nothing to lose.
If the atheists are right, you're absolutely correct. But
if Jesus is truly the Son of God, the salvation savior of the world, they're going to have hell to pay. No, it comes down to that.
No, it doesn't. That's only if you're comparing. See, Pascal's wager only works if you're comparing it to an atheist. But if you compare,
but Pascal was a creation of God. He's not. He doesn't.
Wait a minute! Don't cut me like that. But if Pascal's wager, if Pascal's wager is position Christian versus Hindu, then you lose if you're wrong.
Right, but I would never take that argument to anybody I would meet on the street, because that's kind of like you and I vision you and me in a coffee shop and having this. I love this conversation. I love it, and I would enjoy spending 2 hours with you and just conversing back and forth, because I don't get this conversation around. My relatives just kick me out of the living room.
Okay,
and so you're a very, very smart man.
So
but the thing is that
wait. Hold on for 1 second, because you're giving me an opportunity for a shameless plug. Okay. All right, shameless plug. Y'all know that y'all need to go to the YouTube page at Coach Renz 33. Click on the link and get your reservations for the Jewelry Plaza downtown San Antonio for our meet and greet here in San Antonio, where they will be providing free breakfast at the hotel and free supper. And as I put the agenda up, the agenda for that weekend, October 31st through November 2nd, we're going to have a meet and greet at Devil's River Distillery. You are so welcome to come. We're also and that's the only thing we're doing on Friday, because that's how I expect people to come in. On Saturday, we're going to have a business and money talk poolside at the Jewelry Plaza Hotel at 10 a.m. We're going to move over at 2 p.m. to the Japanese Tea Garden, where we're going to do a Q&A session. And then at 8 p.m., we're going to reconvene at the poolside for a developing the community of deconstructionists, because everybody needs to. A lot of us, you may not know this, but a lot of us lose our family and friends because of this. So we're going to talk about how to develop the community. And then on Sunday, November 2nd at 7 a.m., which I hate because I don't like getting up early, we're going to have a sound bowl meditation poolside at 7 a.m. So click on the link and reserve your hotel room. The offer goes away September 29th. You will not be able to get the discount after September 29th. All you got to do is reserve it. You do not have to pay for anything right now, as far as the hotel. And we're not charging for any of the meat. The Japanese Tea Garden is free. Devil's River is free unless you buy something. So everything is very cost effective, and you get free food. So yeah.
Oh, nice.
Thank you for the shameless plug. And you are more than welcome to join us.
Hey, wow, thank you for the invite. I appreciate that. But you know, and I want to end my call because I know there's other people waiting. But the thing is that I want to say is that the gospel is not about man. The thrust of the theme is that man is a sinner and he needs a savior, and man is disconnected from God. You probably saw on the news 2 nights ago. I used to live in Charlotte, North Carolina. I lived there for 20 years. I lived in Charlotte, and there was you heard about that girl got killed on the train. Sitting on the news.
I don't watch much news.
Well, it's on the internet too. Okay. It's horrific because this young girl got off from work and she was sitting on the commuter train. And they got the real video. The guy sitting behind her he didn't even know the girl. Just stood up and just unalived her.
Okay.
Just unalived her.
I'm gonna need you to move forward because I normally don't allow this much preaching or proselytizing on my channel.
Okay, all right, I'll move on. But the thrust of the gospel message is that man needs a savior, and man can't save himself, and that's really a lot of where the debate is because man doesn't think that he's the sinner. Man is arrogant. Man thinks that he can save himself, and that's why I brought that analogy. We're seeing so much.
Yeah, I disagree wholeheartedly with the fact that we need a savior through some God.
And you have to have a moral reference.
Yeah,
I believe in absolute.
Just like you
seem like you're very well studied.
I'm gonna fight you. I'm gonna fight you.
I believe in absolutes. And it's absolutes is true.
You know, when you show up, we fight.
Texas, pardon me.
You know, if you show up, we gonna fight. I'm throwing you in the pool.
Right.
Because you just keep on over talking.
And that's okay.
I'm saying because you keep over talking me. That's why we're gonna fight.
Well, that's why I said I would even enjoy, you know, if I lived in your city, I would love to sit and have coffee with you and have these discussions.
What city are you in, by the way?
Pardon me?
What city are you in, by the way?
I just relocated from North Carolina to Oklahoma now.
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm a granddaddy now, so I got
that bullshit. Mode. Yeah.
I'm in grandpa mode.
Yeah.
So, in closing, again, thanks for the conversation. It's just that.
Wait, before you close, what I was getting ready to say until you cut me off again, was the fact that in the same way you just talked about this story on the news, I'm doing a video after this one where I'm going to be talking about and Amish is Christian. They believe in the Bible, even though it's different from other sects of Christianity. But this Amish woman just murdered her 4-year-old son and tried to murder her other 3 children because she believed that God was telling her to do so. And she believed that her husband was swallowed by a big old fish. So when people say to me that we need a savior and need a God, nah, because the savior and the God complex that people have oftentimes does cause them to do some horrendous things.
I agree. I'm in 100% agreement with you about that, but I'm not talking about a book. I'm not talking about a lifestyle. I'm talking about a person. And that's a difference.
Yeah, but we're not going to go back into that. We're not going to go back to it.
Well, again, that's
too much preaching.
I push aside and I get kind of like corralled into this. We're going to talk about a book and the authentic. Hold on, my tongue's twisted. Authenticity of the Bible and all this stuff. That's not the argument. I'm talking about a person.
Yeah, well,
when you talk about a person, it's totally different. So, like, if someone comes and tells me about you,
stop, Sergeant Major.
I want to know.
You're getting into the preaching, Sergeant Major. And
all right, well, that's what I'm saying. That's what it becomes because, like, I mean, I'm finishing up Bible college right now, and I have some of these conversations I have with people. I could talk circles around it, but it's not a fair conversation. It's not fair.
Yeah. Well,
and I think you know what I'm saying. So, but when you get down to, because people want to know 4 things. They want to know 4 major questions. They want to know origin. Where does life come from? Meaning, what's the purpose of my life? Morality, what's right or wrong? And destiny, what happens when I die? And every religion or belief, worldview should be able to answer those 4 questions. And if they can't, then it's just an opinion.
That's the thing. The overwhelming majority of them answer those questions, but because of people's differences of belief, people like to villainize the other belief and hold strong that theirs is the right one.
Like I said, I don't have to pull out all
theirs is the right one, which is why we deconstructed from Christianity, because Christianity does answer all four of those questions, but there are so many contradictions and discrepancies and issues with Christianity, which is why we deconstruct from that one. And this is also why I always get people asking me, where do I go next?
It's not contradictions, they're called textual variances.
Nah, we never really got into it, and I'm gonna let the next person come up, but you avoided the contradiction very well.
There are none.
No, you avoided the contradiction very well of where Jesus, what time frame was Jesus born, and where did the family go thereafter? Because I'm just saying, how does that change the gospel in any shape or form? How does that change your life in any way? Because for me and many others, if you can't get the origin story of Jesus right, then why should I accept anything about Jesus?
But I'm just saying, how do you know what's right? Because you don't. First of all, I'm in Bible college, and I know how the Bible's written. So people are reading it like a textbook.
Well, Bible college, I don't give a whole lot of credibility towards. Unless it's
but I'm just saying that when you study the scriptures.
But that's what I'm saying. You're studying it. If you're going to a Bible college that's based on a certain variance of Christianity, then it's going to have that spin.
I agree.
And so that's why I don't give Bible colleges a lot of credibility, because they are teaching it so that it follows a certain narrative. You have to I don't know if your college did this. I know Dallas Seminary used to do it back in the 90s.
Yeah,
but they used to make you sign an agreement that no matter what you learn, you are still going to defend this faith and believe in this faith.
I've heard of that before.
So I don't give Bible colleges much credibility. I agree. If you was going to if you was doing religious studies at a secular school, I would give that more credibility.
Right, and I agree with everything you just said. But however, you have to agree that when you look at the scriptures, they're written by Jewish people. You have to understand the culture of that.
Not all of them.
Yeah, you do.
A lot. No, I'm saying not all of them are written by Jewish, because as you may, I don't know if you've gotten this far yet in your studies, but only 7 of the letters of Paul are said to have been written by Paul. The other ones they think are pseudographical, but written by followers of Paul, and could have been, and most likely were Greek speaking people, non-Jewish people.
Again, like I said, you have to read it in context, the times in which it was written, because it's not about what you and I interpret it to be, it's what they interpret it to be.
Right. We are 100% on that one, and which is actually part of the biggest issue that I have with Christians, because they read it for how they think now. And I read it for how those people would have read it, understood it, and translated it.
Right. All right, Big Sergeant. We do agree on that.
Yeah.
We do agree on that.
Yeah.
But that's why I'm just saying that's where the problem is, because people are reading it like a 21st century history book. It's not to be read that way.
All right. But I'm going to let somebody else get on here, but I want you to go and compare
Thanks for the invite. I appreciate the time.
Yeah, we didn't get to the meat of it, but I'm going to let you be all right with that one today.
I'll see you on your event.
What's that? Oh, thanks.
On your event.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Let's see. This is the last caller because it's lunchtime, and it's been 3 hours.
Hello, sir. Thank you for bringing me up.
Hello, how you doing? Are you over 21?
Yes.
And are you a believer?
Yes, I do. I believe in the God.
Okay, but what God?
I believe in the Most High God.
All right. Which God is that? Is the God based on the Judah? Your name says Torah, so you believe in the God of the Old Testament, or do you believe in Jesus?
No.
Okay, so you believe in the God of the Old Testament. So
I see here it says multiple contradictions with the birth of Jesus. That's why I came up, and I wanted to ask you what contradictions are there about the birth of Jesus.
Oh, okay. I see you just joined a few minutes ago. Okay. The birth, there are contradictions in the birth of Jesus concerning the year that he was born in, and as far as where his family went after he was born. There are other issues as far as the wise men coming from the east, following a star in the east, and a star hovering above their house, even though they went to Jerusalem and then went southeast to Bethlehem. So that doesn't necessarily work out directionally.
What about the Magi?
Yeah, the Magi. Then there's the fact that the Magi nor the shepherds or anybody wrote anything, and these shepherds wouldn't have been out in the wintertime with their sheep. But the main one is the fact that he could not have been born at the same time that Luke says it and Matthew says it. He had to have been born at different time frames. And Luke and Matthew say that he went to 2 different places.
Wow. So do you believe that he existed at all, or do you think that?
I don't think the Bible version of Jesus actually existed. That's a legendized version of Jesus. Could there have been an itinerant preacher at that time frame who claimed to be a Messiah? There were plenty of those. So it could have been based on any of their stories.
Okay. Right, you made some great points, you made some really good points about the Magi. Where's your stance as far as creation goes? Do you believe in a God, or?
What does that have to do with this question?
No, everything. I was just curious on like where's your stance on this, because obviously, I can tell you're showing that, the contradictions with the birth. And I just wanted to see, where you stood at also, because the fact, that what you're talking about the contradictions of the birth of Jesus.
Do you believe in Jesus? You don't believe in Jesus, though, right?
No, and the one of the biggest contradictions is also Isaiah, 7:14, where they say, virgin shall give birth, which is a mistranslation also. Yeah,
it's a mistranslation. It's actually saying a young woman has given birth. So it's talking about a child that was already born.
Right.
So it's not talking about that in itself. Is not talking about the Messiah, the coming Messiah. It was just telling King Ahaz that he will defeat his enemies prior to this child knowing the difference between good and evil.
Exactly. Yeah, the sign was actually the maturity of the child, not the conception of the woman.
Right. So the Jesus narrative has nothing to do with Isaiah 14. So Jesus, but like I said, Jesus is a narrative, and it was made to try to fit into the Old Testament, but it doesn't fit. That's why Jesus never completed any of the prophecies.
Well, all praise to the Most High, man. You got some great points, and I do appreciate it.
Mm-hmm.
As far as the New Testament goes, the entire New Testament, what I believe was a fabrication by Rome. Just.
And in the same way, I think that the entire Old Testament is a fabrication by Israelites.
Well, that's where me and you can disagree at. But yeah, no, I just wanted to let you know that as far as the contradictions of the.
Why would you? Let me ask you a question though. Why would you accept that the New Testament is a fabrication by Rome, but you won't accept that the Old Testament is a fabrication by Israelites?
Well, because we know that what the Christians call the Old Testament was here before the New Testament was invented.
Okay, the Sumerian text and the Canaanite text was before the Israelites. The Egyptian text was before the Israelites.
Right. A lot of cultures had their own text.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just talking about the laws of God, the morals of God, the do not murder, do not commit adultery, all these things are good morals, are good way, good laws to follow.
Is it a good law to follow that if a young maiden is essayed by a man, that the man then pays the father, and if he's caught, the man is to pay the father 50 pieces of silver, and then the young girl has to marry her essayist and then provide him children and be his wife?
Well, the original Hebrew actually says if he sleeps with her, and so that's out of mistranslation that he's supposed to do right by her family.
The original Hebrew is the same word that is used in every instance of someone being raped. So
I've read the Hebrew that's not there.
That's the same wording around it, in it, and the word itself indicates that he is taking her by force. That when this Levitical law is given, it is a man taking a woman by force, and that man having to pay the sister, because if he is caught, not if they are caught, but if he is caught, indicating that with the contextual clues of just that alone, it is indicating that when he roughly grabbed hold of her, that he was doing something that was in violation to what she desired. So if he is caught, then he has to pay 50 pieces of silver, which is the bride price, and that girl then has to marry her aggressor. So you're saying that's a good moral thing?
Yeah, because the original Hebrew doesn't say if he takes her by force.
Yes, it does. You just don't want to accept it.
It doesn't. But I mean, we can disagree with that.
Okay. So do you think it's a good moral thing that this guy killed all the firstborn children of Egypt, according to the story?
Do I think it's what now?
Do you think it's a moral? It's good morals that this guy killed all the firstborn children of Egypt when he is the one who hardened Pharaoh's heart in the first place?
Well, Pharaoh's heart was already hardened.
No, it's not. Go back and read the story. The first 3 times of Pharaoh's heart being hardened was done by this guy. He tells Moses that I will harden Pharaoh's heart.
But Pharaoh's heart was already hardened when he genocided innocent children.
Nope.
Before that, I'm talking about.
Nope.
You know that already.
Nope. That Pharaoh, and according to that story, that is not the Pharaoh who genocided according to that story, who's the Pharaoh who genocided the firstborns. Those firstborns that were genocided, as far as the Hebrew people, was the father of that Pharaoh. Because Moses supposedly grew up as a prince with the son of that Pharaoh. And then it is that Pharaoh who is Moses' adopted brother that this guy hardens the heart of. So that has nothing to do with it.
Yeah, but his father was going into the ways of his father.
No, so you're adding to stuff.
Yeah.
I'm not in the ways of my father. You're adding to stuff.
I'm not adding to anything.
Where does it say that he was in the ways of his father? It clearly, but the text clearly says that Pharaoh's heart, this God will harden Pharaoh's heart.
And why does it talk about the firstborn? Because if they were genociding the children of Israel.
They were not genociding the children of Israel. This Pharaoh was not doing that. It doesn't say that.
They actually weren't.
No. Do you
think it's justice? Do you think it's justice to take out somebody who was trying to genocide?
Okay, but even if the Pharaoh was doing that, what does that have to do with a woman and a husband and their children? They're living in Karnak, which is far and away from everything that's going on with Moses, and those firstborn die. What did that child in Karnak have to do with anything that was going on between Pharaoh and Moses? Let's just skip all that stuff, because you're just not going to read your own Bible and accept it.
But I am reading my own Bible.
No, you're not.
The Egyptians were doing the same thing to the people.
It did not say that at all. It just said that they were harsh.
They were in slavery to them, being beaten, being treated, being abused.
You're adding you're adding treatment that your Bible doesn't specify.
It actually does. It says that they put more upon them. They put more and more slavery upon them. More harsh treatment.
When?
In the text.
When? Where?
For instance, when they asked to make bricks, when they were told to make bricks, he put more.
After. This is after. This is the treatment.
Look at the treatment they were already going through.
This is after his heart had been hardened by this God, and it doesn't specify what treatment they were going through prior to that. It just says that the pharaohs have forgotten Joseph, and that the Israelites were now enslaved, and that this guy heard the cries of his people. That's it. It doesn't get into any specifics about the treatment. You are manufacturing treatment.
Right. So if you were enslaved to a people, you wouldn't want redemption. You wouldn't want justice.
That has nothing to do with you creating and manufacturing treatment.
You just want to deny it. That's all.
No, you don't want to accept it. You want to put your own spin on it. But as I said, what does a child in Karnak who is killed by this God have to do with anything that the Pharaoh is doing?
Were they in slavery before it
what
talks about
does a child
I'm answering your point. I'm answering your question.
No, you're not.
I'm asking. I am. Were they in slavery before it speaks about God hardening Pharaoh's heart?
Sure.
Okay. So what type of slavery would you consider this?
The type of slave, they was in a chattel slavery situation back then in Egypt, but we don't know the treatment.
Right.
You cannot take American or anybody else's treatment and place that on the saints.
So we know the treatment was bad because Moses defended a fellow Israelite who was being beaten by an Egyptian to death, and that's why Moses stepped in.
And so we're talking about one dude who was an overseer who was whipping somebody because that's what they were doing, but still,
Exactly.
even if that's the one dude. But here's the thing, and the Pharaoh would have allowed that, okay, but why does if the Pharaoh heart is already hardened, then your God would not have to have hardened Pharaoh's heart on multiple occasions. It's clearly said that this God hardens Pharaoh's heart, but you still have not answered, what does a child in Karnak have to do with what's going on with Pharaoh and Moses and Aaron?
Everything. I'm just making my point to you that. So don't think I'm not being argumentative with you. I'm respecting your show and everything. I'm just telling you, we see that they were having very bad treatment, and not only the overseer was beating this Israelite up. But hold on, just 1 second. I'm gonna finish.
You're not answering the damn question, man. What does let me make it livable for you. All right, how old are you?
45.
You're 45. You got kids?
Yes.
All right, you got kids. So and make it even more so, black, white, Asian, Spanish?
Italian.
Okay, Italian. All right. So you're an Italian. Living in America, I'm assuming?
Yes.
All right, Italian living in America. So if the Italian government, whoever is the president of Italy right now, comes over to America and say, you know what, Trump, I don't like the way that you're treating your Italian Americans over here. You're treating them poorly, and because of that, my God is going to strike down all the firstborns in America because of how you're treating the Italians and Americans. And so my brother, who is the firstborn, then dies. What did my brother have to do with any of that?
Was your brother involved with the government? Was he involved with their system?
Does it not say that all the firstborns in Egypt were killed?
Right. So were they involved with the system?
Doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Yeah, it doesn't say anything about it only killed the firstborn of those who were in government service of Egypt. It could be a poor ass person living in Karnak who doesn't have anything to do with government and just trying to feed themselves. What does all mean? Does all mean all?
Yes.
Okay, so if all means all, and that's all means, then whoever was living in Egypt and they were Egyptians, no matter what their status or standing is, because we can agree that there were probably poor Egyptians, right?
And those Egyptians actually left Egypt and went with Moses.
No. You cannot say that every Egyptian that went with Moses. It just says some. It says
some of them did.
Okay, you're still not trying to answer the question. Poor little person living in Karnak, mother, father, son. This all of a sudden wake up one morning, ain't got a clue what the hell going on, just seeing some crazy weather shit happening. And all of a sudden, your firstborn son is dead.
There was no poor Egyptian in Karnak. These people were wealthy. These people were a system.
You think that everybody in Egypt was well? So look, you're an American. You've been here for 40. You're 45. You should know. Was every white person in America wealthy during the time of slavery in America?
Well, you're talking about the time of Egypt, so no, not in America. But
there's never been a country in existence where everybody was rich.
These Egyptians were thriving on the land. They were thriving on everything that they had.
You know what?
On the backs of Israel. Check it out.
No. I'm not going with this propaganda bullshit, because you are ignoring the information, and you keep trying to say that, this was all the Egyptians were wealthy. That's ridiculous. I'm not entertaining that bullshit.
But they were.
I'm not entertaining that bullshit. I'm not entertaining that historical bullshit. Get away from me. Yeah, I'm hangry right now because that was just fucking dumb. That's just dumb. I'm not entertaining that. This man gonna sit up here and say that every Egyptian was wealthy during this time frame. You gotta be fucking kidding me. That your brain is so caught up into the belief of this religion that you would think that every Egyptian was wealthy. That's just nonsense. Fucking nonsense. I just want my book to be real, and I want to play the victim role for my book. So I'm not even going for that. Matter of fact, I'm done for the day. I'm done for the day. It's been 3 hours and 40 minutes almost. All right. Exactly. They love that fantasy world. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. That is some straight fantasy land bullshit that everybody was wealthy in Egypt, and that's why they firstborn deserve to die. You're trying to justify the firstborn dying over some mythical bullshit of believing that everybody was culpable. Man, please. Ah, man. So I'm going to be done. I was about to, Jarvis, no. USA originally, Island, Turtle Island, the original Egypt. No, sir. I hope you're not one of those people that believe that all that biblical shit happened in America. But that's for a whole nother day. That's for a whole nother day. Look, last time, I promise this is the last time I'm gonna say this. So we are having a meetup in San Antonio, Texas. This is the agenda that we will be going through. As far as when you come here, I know people have been asking for the agenda. This is the agenda. If you're not seeing this, it's because it's on my YouTube page. And so if you go to my YouTube page at Coach Renz 33, you'll be able to see the agenda on this video. But you know what? I'm gonna make another video about the agenda and post it anyway. So just go into the YouTube and click on the hotel link. Everything is free. You guys got to pay for your hotel, of course. There's free breakfast and free supper at the hotel. And we're going to be meeting at Devil's River Distillery for just a meet and greet. Hey, how you doing? Got to meet you, got to see you. Then we're going to have a biz and money talk poolside at Drury Plaza because I love talking about business more than anything else, almost more than anything else. We're going to have a deconstruction Q&A at the Japanese Tea Garden at 2 p.m. on Saturday. The biz talk is Saturday morning at 9 a.m. And then we're going to have a developing the community of deconstructionists conversation at 8 p.m. so that we can all get deeper in knowing each other and building how we're going to build this community. And then November 2nd, before everybody leaves, we're going to have a sound bowl meditation because that's what me and my wife like to do at 7 a.m. at the poolside at the Drury Hotel. If there's anything that happens after that, it'll just be based on what we figure out based on the people who are still there and when they got to leave as far as flights or driving or whatever else there is. So I'll make a video about that and where you can go and click onto it. I appreciate everybody today. Everybody who supports the channel through memberships, who support the channel through subscriptions, everybody who gives gifts on TikTok, I appreciate it, as well as those who donate to the channel through Cash App, which is $, my first and last name, LARENZOREID. That's LARENZOREID. Thank you very much. So I appreciate those people. You got my wife some nice little gifts on our anniversary with that donation, with those donations. So y'all have a great day. And always remember, you have to free yourself to, make sure you share all my videos. But always remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.